Bro, this is crazy. This is so much. What the hell? I got groomed on Roblox to catch a Robloxian finding Roblox predators. I caught Roblox's most dangerous predator. What the hell? Dude, what the hell is going on Roblox, bro? Dude, predators are so fucking insane. I mean, look, obviously they are insane. They're fucking predators. They're child predators, right? But like, they just use any and every outlet they can. Brother, what do you mean you're on Roblox? What do you mean you're in Roblox lobbies? That is insane. I guess that's where the kids are. Is that what it is? I don't know. I've never played Roblox. To this day, I have never downloaded Roblox and never played Roblox. Everybody always is yelling at me to play Roblox. I don't even know where you download it and where you play it because I am 34 years old. I mean, eventually I probably will at some point because, like I said, I was going to play Dress to Impress, for example, but I don't understand it. Like, my old ass doesn't even understand what Roblox is because it looks like busted Minecraft, but also at the same time, there's like every time I see something that people say is Roblox is like, there's so many different versions of it. So from the outside, I've always like tried to comprehend what it is, but it like doesn't make any sense to me because there's like shooting games in it. There are, Dress to Impress is like in Roblox, right? Isn't that like they've made all of these like different games? So in my mind, I don't even understand what the game is actually because I've seen so many different versions of it. I think it's like a Gen Alpha Gmod. Unfortunately, evangelical anti-porn organizations, Christian anti-porn organizations have been pointing out grooming for years. I mean, just because it's like an evangelical evangelical Christian organization that's pointing it out doesn't mean it's not something that should immediately be put an end to.
Roblox is
like, what the fuck are we talking about? That's what do you mean? That's fine. I mean, they use stuff like that to obviously get a foothold and gain influence in these spaces and just open the door to like further censorship. But this is one of those things where it's like, I think, the company should take initiative, except it feels like the company took initiative, but in the opposite direction, where instead of taking the initiative and like banning the pedophiles or trying to create a safer universe for the children that are primarily playing Roblox, they turned around and banned the people that were calling out the predators. Like, I don't know what the hell that was about. But then again, I don't know. I don't really fully understand what it is. The blast off link is not working. Wait, did I fuck it up? Did I write the wrong link? They banned a vigilante. Predators buy sneakers too. Well, I mean, what do I always say? There's a permission structure. There is a permission structure. And the more that permission structure expands, the more these kinds of things become normalized, right? Whether it be predatory behavior, whether it be literally people advocating for pedophilia, which sounds fucking insane. When you say it out loud, you're like, what? What do you mean people are advocating for pedophilia? There are people who are doing that, right? So like, the more people don't push back against this, the less there is any sort of social stigma surrounding these sorts of things that are utterly criminal and should be immediately cast aside. The more people feel comfortable coming out and entertaining this notion. Did you see Hamzat win the fight last night? Yeah, a lot of people were saying it was an underwhelming fight and it was boring. But, free Palestine. 5 rounds full of grab ass. I mean, Dagestan on top. I mean, he's not even Dagestani, he's Chechen. But right, he's Chechen, right? And I think he had to literally, because he's besties with Ramazan Kadyrov, he had to get a new passport. He had to get a Dubai. He had to go to Dubai, bro. And yeah, he's a UAE national. And I think like Donald Trump pushed to allow him to fight, right? They finally got him in the US this time. Yeah, Donald Trump will get anybody in here. He don't give a fuck, especially If Dana is asking for it, if Dana White is asking for it, it's good. It'll happen. 529 strikes compared to Funday 50 domination. Did you see this fatherless behavior? Are you even surprised? Oh, Destiny's Son coming out as a Nazi? No, I'm not surprised. And yes, I did see it. And I talked about it briefly yesterday. Like I said, guy who fucking presents himself as like, you know, the antidote to the alt-right, literally can't even be an antidote to the Nazis with his own child. So anyway, don't link me stuff like that. We're doing Funday. Trump let Paramount buy UFC after the bribes. His response is funny, bro. He literally said he'll just talk to him when he's 18. That's weird. Gavin Newsom has got to be stopped. Yeah, I see him like posting whack ass memes and shit. I just like, I don't know. I is this appealing to the libs? I feel like there's definitely libs that like Gavin Newsom now. They think he's like gruesome. They think he's gruesome. I don't even know what this is. Like, I guess he's like trying to copy Trump. He's trying to make fun of Trump, I assume. Right? That's what this is. This is like him being like, lol, this is the type of shit that you do, Trump. And it's just like, look, what do I always say? Put the policy in the bag, okay? Put the policy in the bag, little bro. Fix the housing market in the state that you are in, okay? Defend your constituents from ICE. I'm fine with the redistricting as long as it's not redistricting done specifically so that you can have 6 additional shit lib Democrats who are just not going to fight for their own constituents and fight for the corporate oligarchs to continue dominating the American nation. We're gonna get 6 of the worst like pro-Israel Raytheon libs out of California in the new redistricting attempts, and then I'm just gonna fucking move out of this goddamn country once and for all. You know, on his podcast, Cruz, Gavin Newsom, and Dan Crenshaw are apparently the only successful podcasting politicians out there, per Kylie Wilson Tharp's newsletter. The verdict with Senator Ted Cruz is 1.4 million downloads. This is Gavin Newsom. I mean, wait, that's not bad. Why is everybody doing podcasts, man? Nobody ever listens to me. Jim Clyburn has a podcast called Clyburn Chronicles. Are we fucking for real? What the hell does he talk? Okay, I got to look this up now. What the hell could he be talking about? Podcast by Congressman James E. Clyburn. It has 0 episodes. It doesn't have any episodes. Someone find me Jim Clyburn's podcast, please. I need to hear it. I need to hear it. What is this? Reconnecting Communities. Steve Benjamin joins Clyburn podcast April episode. You can listen to the episode here.
Hello, this is Congressman Jim Clyburn, and I would like to welcome you to my podcast, Clyburn Chronicles. I've always been a lover of history. I see this platform as a way to connect history with the politics of today. This is so important because, as George Santayana once said, those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. Each episode, my guest and I will have a conversation about the...
Yeah, we're doing a Fear and collab. I fear. Fear and collab imminent, okay? Fear and Jim Clyburn. Sounds like a dude in 1973 who just got a tape recorder. I mean, he is a dude in 1973. Bro, this is so nutty to me. Once again, all these guys do is just sit around, collect cash, eat hot dogs, and never legislate at the behest of their constituents. What are we doing? Do your job, man, except his job requires him to fucking defend the corporate interests, you know? Like, what do you mean you have time to do podcasts? I do not want my legislators to have time to do podcasts. You just describe yourself. Yeah, exactly. I'm not a politician. What do you mean? Exactly. Why are you doing fuck shit? I'm supposed to be the one doing fuck shit. You're not. Do you understand? That's the point. Dude, this is so crazy because, like, if your CEO was doing this kind of stuff, you'd get mad. I mean, nothing would come out of it, obviously, because what are you going to do? Get mad at the CEO? Okay, fine. Who cares? But it's wild that it's like, this is what legislators are doing. This is what they're busy with. Bro, compare fear and talking about stealing forks to politicians fucking around and not doing their job. Exactly. Gatekeeping influencer status is crazy. I like that we just have a perma influencer economy. That's it. We just don't have anything else. We just have influencers. Only influencing. Okay? If you're 85 years old, it doesn't matter. It's time to influence. Doesn't matter. It knows no age. For the longest time, people said, let's get the microphones away from people. And the Democratic politicians looked at that and was like, oh no, we should actually put more microphones in front of us, which is the opposite thing. Oh, it's not, you're woefully ignorant to the world of CEO podcast. My old CEO had a podcast. Ugh, gross. Why are you podcasting? Do your job. Do your fucking job. Your job is not the podcast. Do you ever take a rest day? Why is the left, right, and center mad at you? Can you break it down for those of us that do other stuff and listen to grown men complain about you? You're clearly doing something right. Yeah, it's all good. People just chirp. Don't worry about it. All right. Oh, you're right. I was going to make a statement. Mister, I know we're doing Funday, but you were responding. You were going to say about James Abrez and South Dakota being represented by Arab Dem for a decade in the 70s, and now we suck and have Christy fucking Numb chatter distracted you. Yeah. I say this all the time. I said this at the DSA meetings too. If you remember, DSA National Convention took place in Chicago. I was there. There were a lot of delegates that came from all around the country in DSA chapters, all around the nation, right? Arkansas, Ohio, everywhere. And the thing is, a lot of these areas, a lot of these rural areas are deep red, not as a consequence of the political desires of the overwhelming majority or whatever, even though there are plenty of shitheads in these places. Shitheads that could still be convinced, mind you. But it's because the Democrats have completely stopped funding any initiatives in these areas whatsoever. They just see it as a lost cause. They see it as impossible to break through. That's it. And I think for that very reason, these areas are ripe. These areas are ripe for the picking. I think like with a decent door knocking operation and like a somewhat charismatic figure that advocates for policies that directly improve the living conditions of people in these rural areas, I think that you could really push for a solid progressive base from the countryside. I mean, look, like him, hate him, you can get mad at him over Israel, but like Bernie Sanders kind of shows that reality. This whole thing with the Fight the Oligarchy tour is proof in the pudding. It's not just places like New York City that are desperate for a fighter that is dynamic like Zoran, a left candidate like Zoran. It's not even necessarily that Zoran is a socialist that he won the New York City Democratic primary, because that moniker is not seen as a benefit. It's not beneficial at all. It's beneficial here in this community, but we are marginal. Okay? We're inconsequential in the grand scheme of things in American politics. We are far more inconsequential than Nazis are, I would say, because Nazis make their way into the top of the Republican Party because the Nazis are aligned with Republican politics in general. They might have disagreements on certain issues, but overall they're like completely aligned on the broader swaths of policy, whereas socialists and the left are unfortunately only aligned with the Democratic base, but the Democratic politicians themselves are not aligned with actual implementation of progressive politics. So that's the reason why I always say, like, just, advocate for good things, advocate for policies in an earnest way, and you will be able to organize no matter where you go. Bernie went to West Virginia towns that no one has ever heard of to talk to people who 2 years ago would just wish death upon him for all his faults. He's one of the only national politicians talking to and about real people. Yeah, I agree. Do you have any worries about Zoran switching up and caving to neoliberal politics? I mean, that's always a potential. There's always a potential for that. You know, I don't think it's going to happen. I hope it doesn't happen. But you know, you just gotta wait and see. That's it. All right, let's see this. Roblox predator problems getting worse.
Platform that needs no introduction, yet every time I talk about it, I feel compelled to remind people that this is like one of the most profitable things on the planet. This game has become more popular than oxygen, but I'm sure all of you already know that. There's not a soul on this planet that hasn't at least heard the name Roblox. You could live underground just feeding off dirt, and somehow I'm sure the name Roblox made it down to the subterranean culture. Like, it is actually that big. But for some parents that stay in the know about the happenings on the online space, Roblox is a name that might send some shivers down your spine, because there is a big problem in the community that has existed for a while, one that the Roblox headquarters plugs its ears to and even actively tries to bury or dissuade people from trying to solve the problem themselves. That problem being predators. There have been innumerable cases of Roblox predators preying on children through the platform. It's led to so many national headlines about this issue, and it's gotten so bad that there are YouTubers and like vigilante groups on the game that have taken matters into their own hands to try and catch and get these predators arrested so they can make the platform safer for children. Roblox themselves don't do enough to keep the platform safe, so the community has taken it upon themselves to do it themselves. Like, Roblox always claims that they're working on it, but they're really not. They're doing the equivalent of going to the gym and hitting 2 sets of dilly-dally and calling it a day. They don't actually do much for this.
Has sent a cease and desist letter to me, a 22-year-old, versus a multi-billion-dollar company, threats of litigation because I catch predators on their platform. Within the last
You got to investigate and use your voice changer to do a speedrun to see how long it takes for grooming to happen. That sounds insane. I don't feel comfortable presenting myself as a teenager just to do pedo hunting operations. That's insane.
year, me and my team have gotten 6 predators arrested within the Roblox community. Almost all of them have admitted to doing this before to other Roblox users.
This is a YouTuber named Schlep who has been working to get predators arrested that are preying on children through the Roblox platform. And Roblox has now permanently banned him, like IP ban, banished all of his accounts to the Shadow Realm, and he is facing potential legal problems for this. It's pretty odd considering Roblox willingly turns a blind eye to the pedophile plague on their platform, but will laser focus, dial in, and fucking call in like the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs in order to try and wipe out people like Schlep that try and stop the predators themselves. So instead of stopping the predators, Roblox stops the people stopping the predators. It's really backwards, if you ask me. That shit doesn't make any sense. Like, just let that marinate in your head for a moment. Like, I understand vigilante groups can sometimes be a problem, but when you as the company are doing...
That's how they matched the Israeli operative, by the way. Caught the Israeli operative, by the way. Cops went undercover as teens. I understand, but I'll leave that to law enforcement. Okay? And like, even they are probably not doing the best job when engaging in the act of pedo hunting, but I'm not going to do it. Okay? Like, there's a difference between people who are like actively farming CSAM, for example, in their Discord servers, like those kick streamers that one content creator like did a massive expose on, right? Like, those guys are doing it. There's no entrapment. They're just doing it publicly. Okay? There's no like presenting yourself as a child or anything like that. But I think there's a balance to it where if some people just like go way above and beyond, and then that's the reason why you see a lot of these like pedo hunter style content creators. I'm not saying Schlep is like that. I don't know his content at all. But like a lot of these guys then turn into like weirdos or are weirdos, and they're just doing this because they're weirdos. Some of them actually get outed as predators themselves as well. It happens far too much. So I just kind of fucking stay away from that world completely.
Nothing to actually stop it yourself? What other options are there? The community has to take matters into their own hands and start policing themselves to try and keep the platform safe, since Roblox is really dropping the ball on it. Like, for some reason, they don't even get out of bed when they hear about a pedophile on the platform, but if they hear about a YouTuber doing something to stop that, shit, they fire up like Dracula. They sit up like The Undertaker and they get to business. They go to work. So, this is not the first time this has happened. They have come after people like Schlepp before, the people that are actively trying to make the platform safer, and it just doesn't make any sense. The CEO seems to be too busy trying to pitch Roblox as a dating platform in addition to being for gaming. I already made a video talking about the lunacy of this idea, but it is like chumming the waters for sharks. The sharks in this case being pedophiles. Anyone who knows anything about Roblox and has a functioning frontal lobe should tell you what.
Bro, is the CEO a pedophile? What's going on? What the hell? The CEO was like, oh, this seems like a fantastic opportunity to get some teenagers to meet some eligible bachelors. That's crazy. That's insane. This is just, let's dump some meat in the water where the sharks are circling. What the hell? This is the type of stuff that like parents in my generation were worried about, and therefore my parents did not want me playing any online video games or even have like MSN Messenger. You guys had AIM here in America. We had MSN Messenger in Turkey, and they didn't let me have it. Like, they didn't let me use it because they saw like one news article about like a predator or a pedophile doing predator stuff to children or whatever, right? And that was a little ridiculous because like MSN Messenger was not even, you could not really communicate with strangers. It's just a way to communicate with your friends as long as you had their like usernames and stuff like that, right? I'm sure it probably happened, but you could, the proper way to do that would probably be to educate your child on best practices, like understand how this works, understand how this like communication platform works, and educate your child in the same way that you would about like going out and not talking to stranger danger in public, right? Because nowadays the internet is basically the only public space that we exist in. So, of course, my parents were too old, didn't understand it, and were instead like, you're not allowed to use it. And obviously I still used it. I had to learn a bunch of different like privacy apps that would, if I hit like a couple different keystrokes, would automatically close down Dota or MSN Messenger, the ones that people use in like their workplace when they're watching me, Hasanabi Piker, while they're on the company time. I used all of that. So I found a workaround around it. But the point is, this is a real fear. This is an understandable fear, especially if you're like in a large server and it's basically the equivalent of walking around as a child in public, and there's dudes with white vans holding out candy. But instead, because it's online, you just kind of feel like you're safe, but you're not safe at all. You know what I mean? There are nearly 82 million active users on Roblox and more than 6.4 million experiences within the system. More than 40% of their user base is under the age of 12. Because there's no age minimum requirement to verify age or parental permission once you sign up, users can easily say you are younger or older than their actual age, allowing child predators to pose as children and for children to bypass any age requirement. I just don't also know what the proper mechanism of protection is, because like I know that a lot of these people will use as an opportunity to put like the identification, like the ID verification stuff, and I feel like that's also incredibly worrisome because it increases surveillance. Taylor Lorenz had a big video on this as well. She's been a champion in this cause, consistently talking about how like all of the ID verification processes that they're implementing is going to inevitably lead to more problems down the line and create an environment of censorship. So I don't know what the actual solution is. I lean on the side of what Taylor is warning about as well. But here, let's
What a
let's
recipe
keep
for
going.
disaster this is, to turn a platform that mainly targets children into
Welcome
also
back.
having a
We'll talk
dating
about
site
this, yeah.
component to it. That he wants to be 17 plus, which is a weird number to choose for that, by the way. But the CEO, Dave Bazuki, Dave fucking Hakalugi Bazuki, really is fixated on trying to make this a reality of turning Roblox into a dating site in addition to its gaming. But they can't even protect children from pedophiles now. Imagine when they try and implement this to it.
Hilarious. Roblox is actively claiming that I'm hurting their players. Roblox is claiming that I'm engaging in simulated child endangerment conversations. What? So one of the fundamental bases of predator catching is that you cannot talk sexually to predators. Predators are supposed to be the ones talking sexually to you. If you talk sexually to predators, like straight off the get-go, that's entrapment. That is literally what entrapment is. We almost always play a naive kid who doesn't know anything about this stuff, so they teach us about this stuff. If you watch these videos, you know how the chats are going, and they're not even on Roblox. Most of the chat logs are on Discord, and they're accusing me of getting people off of platform onto
Kind of glad you're down for that stuff. This can make something interesting. Oh, what the fuck? Hey, yo, dude. Wow, God. I used to make fun of my dad because, like, when there is any sort of like harm, simulated harm against like a child in a movie, he'll be like, shut this off. I can't watch this. Right. And I'd be like, who cares? It's a movie, Dad. Calm down. And now I feel like I'm turning into him a little bit, where like when I see this kind of stuff, I'm like, oh, I can't even do it. But then again, this isn't even simulated harm. This is like real shit. So this is like a real ass active predator out there existing in the same universe as myself, you, your loved ones, and your young relatives, your minor relatives. It's just so gross.
different social media sites.
Let's take a peek at this real quick. While Roblox acknowledges that your stated intentions may be to protect children, and while it recognizes the serious nature of online predatory behavior, your methods, including failing to immediately report suspicious activity to Roblox through proper channels, are actively interfering with Roblox's established safety protocols and critically are exposing Roblox's users to increased risk. If that isn't the fattest load of barnacles you've ever tried to swallow, I don't know what is. The big thing with everyone that is actively trying to keep the platform safer, like people like Schlepp trying to catch predators, they report them immediately. That is the number one thing they do. The problem is, and you can look this up there yourself, there are so many articles that detail how nonchalant Roblox is when it comes to these reports. The problem is, Roblox doesn't act on it. So as far as I know, in all of these predator catching groups,
Bro, this should be like instant IP ban, not for Schlepp, of course, but for the person, and then also instantly report them to the authorities. Like, it should be auto. It should be an automatic system where it's like, okay, we look through it. Obviously, this person is actively trying to go after children on our platform. Child safety and child endangerment is the number one priority for us, with an active user base of 40% that's under the age of 13. How do you prevent abuse of that? You have to hire people. What do you mean? You have to hire human beings who scour through the information and then send it over to the authorities. That's how you work with it. And I know nobody wants to do that because they go, it's too expensive. So the only way that you can do that if companies don't take this action on their own is legislation, punishments from regulatory agencies, punishments from authorities. Now, of course, we're talking about the United States of America, which means, which is a massive market, obviously, for a lot of tech initiatives. That's not going to happen here in the United States of America because our regulatory agencies have been gutted from within by the likes of Doge, and our politicians are not invested in anything unless it's to give more money to Israel or if it's to give more money to the military industrial complex in general. So if the children, including the children of politicians, were not children on Roblox getting predated on, but instead, I don't know, the latest Boeing missile system that they're developing being predated on, only then the politicians take action. So I have a brilliant idea. We fake it like the kids are actually missile systems. Hear me out. Okay? We convince, they're old, they don't understand it. They don't understand how the world works. We convince the politicians that this is actually an Hellfire missile that's being predated on. Not a child, not an American child, because children are whack. Nobody cares about them. Obviously, duh. Children are not productive, okay? They don't even work. They don't generate value. Who gives a shit? You know what I mean? They're not a lobbyist. They're not in the fucking halls of Congress. They're not working for Raytheon. Obviously, no one cares. So how do we make the politicians care? We say the kids are actually missiles. Okay? Child, also kind of missile shaped. Child, also oftentimes in the crosshairs of a missile. Think about it. Think about it. Every child that is actively attacked and predated on by a child predator online is actually a missile that could go to Israel. They're kidnapping our missiles. They're kidnapping our missiles. We have to put a stop to it. And then, boom, tomorrow there will be a solution.
First thing they do is report it through the proper channels on Roblox, but the issue is that report just makes it directly to the shitter at Roblox HQ for them to flush it. I don't know where it goes, but I guess it just goes somewhere to collect dust at Roblox. It falls into the goddamn back rooms. So they never actually act on any of the reports. So the proper channels are fucking useless. It's baffling. And in a lot of cases, Schlepp's about to give you an example, even when a predator is arrested, like a Roblox predator is arrested, they don't even ban that account that is associated with them a lot of times. It's craziness. To say like he's not doing this the right way because he's not reporting it through Roblox is just incorrect, and also laughable for them to claim that by not doing that, he's putting users at more risk. How does that make any sense? How is him trying to catch these predators somehow putting children in harm's way? Like, more so than Roblox doing nothing except sitting on these reports forever, maybe using them as like scribbling paper at the office, like a coloring book. Like, how is what he's doing, actively trying at least to stop predators, putting users more at risk? The next barrage of mumbo jumbo from Roblox is equally baffling, saying that he's engaging in simulated child endangerment. Well, I guess kind of, because there are predators on your platform that are talking sexually to him and his group that are pretending to be kids. And according to Schlepp, they're not initiating those inappropriate conversations. The predators are just there. The call's coming from inside the house on Roblox. He is not going out of his way to create pedophiles to catch. They are there. So the conversations do happen because the predators are there having them. And you have to imagine that in most cases, they're not having them with a vigilante group trying to catch them. They're having them with real children that are in real danger from these pedophiles that are running rampant on the platform. Now, the next thing they talk about, moving them to a new platform? What the fuck? As Schlepp mentions, a lot of the conversations do end up off the Roblox service on things like Discord. And apparently that's an issue with Roblox too, that they've taken users from Roblox and brought them to Discord. It's almost like they were upset that they lost a user there to somewhere else. Like, no, bring them back. You're not allowed to. You're trying to poach our community.
Yeah. Roblox makes peer-to-peer encrypted chatting so that pedophiles can easily communicate with children, and they don't have to go to a third-party application to continue these conversations. That's the meta. Make it easier. I mean, the dating app shit is literally moving in that direction. Roblox was like, "Oh, we're joining the war. We're joining the war on pedophilia on the side of the pedophiles."
We're gonna lose pedophiles if you keep catching them, and we need that to pump up our numbers. Are you kidding me? No, that's a big problem.
I guess that's worth a cease and desist and an IP ban of every single account that I own. That's just crazy. I can't even fathom that. They also say sharing or soliciting personally identifiable information. I have no idea.
With the police? Is that what they mean? They're like, Roblox was like, you're doxing our pedophiles by giving their information to the police? That's crazy. Why would you dox our big, brave pedophiles? Why would you dox our big, beautiful pedophiles? It's like you're a predator trying to hunt down pedophiles. This is messed up.
what they're referring to this. I would love to know what they're talking about. Are they referring to the fact that I give the information of the predators that we find to the police? Like, the people we're talking to are predators.
Another weird one here from the slimy suits at Roblox Corp. What do you mean personally identifiable information? It almost sounds like they care more about the privacy of the predators than the act of actually stopping them. It's like, whoa, you just shared some of our users' data without our permission. Are you kidding me?
Imagine being a special victims officer and being assigned to play Roblox all day to catch predators. I mean, I think that's cool. You get to play video games all day. And also simultaneously, you're literally doing one of the functions of law enforcement that is actually good. You know what I mean? It's one of the decent functions of law enforcement that virtually no one would actively argue against.
Doxing a pedophile on our platform? Nope. That is not permissible. We do not support that at all. Like, what the fuck? Like, it'd be entirely unnecessary if you would just do your job and give that personal information to the authorities so that way the predators could get arrested, but you're not doing it. So people like Schlepp have to. Like,
the most insulting thing is that they told me I'm not reporting people quick enough and I'm not reporting them through the right outlets. Tell me the right outlets. I have been trying to figure this out for like a year now. This here is Nepali Incel. This person actually made credible threats to the Las Vegas sphere in a Roblox game. And I saw this with my own two eyes. And the reason why it's a credible threat, it is because the FBI went ahead and arrested someone for making threats within that same game. I made a moderation ticket about it, and I even actually made a report to the FBI about this. Where is the cease and desist letter for him? Where's the IP ban for him? Are you gonna ban all of this dude's accounts?
Roblox uses the proper channels as like kind of this shield, but it's really a myth. It doesn't seem to actually exist because nobody knows the proper channels. They're doing all of like the reporting that they can to Roblox through everything they think is the proper channels. But Roblox, I guess, isn't very clear with what they are because they keep saying, nope, still not using the right channels. Well, what the fuck are they? Nobody seems to know how to access the proper channels. It's like a fucking Call of Duty Zombies Easter egg. How do you get there? Why don't you explain it then? Why don't you make it more clear? Because as of now, everyone is reporting it through what they believe is the right.
I feel like on the one hand, you're like, oh, this is just a children's game. Who cares, right? But also on the other hand, like, this is a primary mode of communication for a lot of people at this point, I guess. There's a massive active user base. Most of them are little kids. So, you know, it's pretty, bro, that's why you care. No, that's my point. My point is that, like, if this is where the kids are and this is where they spend most of their time, then you have to treat it in the same way that you would as though they're at the fucking public parks, you know? Yeah, apparently a credible terrorist attack was being planned on Roblox. Is so fucking crazy. The FBI allegedly busted a real-life terrorist attack that was planned in Roblox. I cannot confirm anything aloud at the moment, but things are in motion, says Crazy Pain. James Wesley Berger, who was caught by the FBI, mugshot below, has been charged with threats communicated in interstate commerce. You can read the criminal complaint below. What? What? Crazy Pain said it will be months. Shawwal. Based on my training experience, I know Shawwal is the 10th month of the Islamic calendar that follows Ramadan. It corresponds approximately to March 31st, 2025. The witness observed messages from Crazy Pain stating that they owned at least one firearm. The following are screenshots that were captured by the witness, though not all communications were captured. Trunon did an episode on the Order of Nine Angels and how they use online games to recruit. And a deal grievous wound upon the followers of the cross. He's keeping it disclosed. We will make dua for you once, you martyr. How many days until you do that, Anna? It will be months, Shawwal, April. Wait, this guy's name is James W. Berger, and he wanted to do like Islamic style terror, Islamic Caliphate, Islamic State style terror. What the fuck? What is happening, bro? When we say Al-Qaeda, I didn't mean like they were literally becoming Al-Qaeda. How the fuck does a guy with the last name James W. Berger sounds like something I made up? Okay, like, white boy named James W. Berger doing jihad. What? This would have been the second time A dude with the last name Burger has committed, a white dude with the last name Burger has committed an act of terror on U.S. soil, domestic terror on U.S. soil. It's like, it reminds me of the first one this year, which is Life is Burger, right? Wasn't that guy's name Life is Burger, like Mr. Hamburger? Whether I've seen right-wing militias with up-armored Land Cruisers in Oregon. Of course, they are the U.S. Taliban. Far Cry 4 for real. Americans planning a terrorist attack. Imagine a burger. I mean, none of this makes sense. None of this makes sense. Like, how did this guy, Carletta Carter, special agent, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Austin, Texas, being duly sworn, deposed, state the following. Based upon the facts set forth below, I submit there's probable cause to believe that on or about January 23rd, 2025, with the Western District of Texas House, where defendant James Wesley Berger did violate transmitting in interstate commerce and any communication threat to injure the persons of another. United States investigating Berger for making threats via the Roblox gaming platform to attack a Christian concert or event. This also sounds sus. Or on or about January 23rd, the FBI received a report from an individual located in the state of Nevada of a possible domestic terrorist incident being discussed on Roblox user by Crazy Payne. Witness observed the Crazy Payne saying they're willing to kill Shia Muslims at their mosque. A guy named James W. Berger became like a ultra Salafist. How does that happen? Where are even Shia Muslims in his vicinity? What the fuck? This has to be fake, right? No, I mean, he was apparently saying shit like this. They brainwashed the kid, bro. I just don't know who and how. It's not about people in the Order of Nine Angels and groups worship. It's not about that. People in the Order of Nine Angles or Angels and groups worship ISIS. So these guys are like radicalizing themselves into being pro-ISIS. How is that even fucking possible? Why is it always us? Why do they hate the Shia so much? It's ISIS, dude. It's ISIS. That's what it is. It's like ISIS shit. No normal Muslim is invested in this kind of like, oh, we got to take out the Shias. Like, that's not real. It's like, I don't know. It's like being a Muslim and then like converting to Catholicism to hunt down Protestants or something, or converting to Protestant Christianity to hunt down Catholics. It doesn't make any sense. Do you understand? Like, that's an insane thing. That's not something that happens. User one replied on Roblox should delete the photograph of firearms within the unknown Discord chat in case it was flagged as suspicious. The firearm should be kept hidden. Crazy Payne continued to speak on Roblox about their desire to commit martyrdom at a Christian event, that he wanted to bring humiliation to the worshipers of the cross. See, this is the other thing. This right here, the reason why I say this is fucking idiotic is because Muslims do not actually want to kill Christians. This is what Christians in the West think Muslims want to do. Okay? That's bullshit. The idea that like Muslims are we're going to go and kill the worshipers of the cross. Like, what the fuck do you mean? Muslims respect Jesus. Jesus is a fucking prophet in the Quran. That's not, this is a dude who got one-shotted by a very specific understanding of quote unquote Islam that mostly manifests in the West. It's like guys that say, oh, I've reverted to Islam because I want to lower the age of consent and have 4 wives and you know, do harm to those who speak out against the prophet or something. Like, that's, you literally are invested in the memeified right-wing version of Islam that America has presented to you as the only form of Islam. It's like, ironically, an Orientalist framework. It's just like you are you didn't like revert because, I don't know, you want to follow you want to follow the Quran. You reverted because you want to be like a fucking weirdo. Yeah, the Sneeko Islam, exactly. Many such cases. Crazy Payne said it will be months, Shawwal, April. Based on my training experience, I know Shawwal is the 10th month of the Islamic calendar that follows a Ramadan. It corresponds to approximately March 31st. The witness observed messages from Crazy Payne stating that owned at least one firearm. Based on the billing information provided by Roblox, the name associated with the Crazy Payne account was James V. Durger with a address in Texas and a Gmail email address. Roblox also provided it seems like Roblox was also doxing the user's privacy here. Really messed up of Roblox to do so. This corroborates Berger within the Western District of Texas at the time he made the threatening statements as Roblox user Crazy Payne on or about February 28th, investigators executed a search warrant at Berger's residence. What? There's thus probable cause to believe he was the user. Berger typed the W's Ibn Isa backspace. Assalamu alaikum. I've come to conclude it will befall the 12 of Shawwal, and it will be a music festival attracting bounties of Christians. Inshallah, we will attain martyrdom and deal a grievous wound upon the followers of the cross. Pray for me and enjoin yourself to martyrdom. How does a white dude named James Berger arrive at ISIS? Like, this is not, I don't even understand. I genuinely don't understand how this happens. Order of the Nine Angels are a bunch of edgy troll Nazi Satanists. They are not Muslims. They just love edgy violence wherever it comes. This is not normal red pill Islam brainwashing. Is that like a new meta? I didn't even know about this. Like, so the Nazis have decided, is it angels or angles? The Nazis have decided like, oh, the regular like white supremacist stuff that we were doing is not popping. We need to just be like, we need to do the we must kill the Shia version of like ISIS style, Al Qaeda style fucking psychotic nonsense. I guess it's like two birds, one stone because they don't fuck with Muslims anyway. I just don't get it. I don't get it. Yes, angle. It's angels. The other dude can't spell. No, other people are saying angles. Some people are saying angles. Some people are saying angels. I don't know. I really think it's just too many psyops on a chaotic internet swirling in the madness. There's going to be a split in the American Nazi movement where the pure Christo-fascist crusade against the Islamo-fascist Nazis. I don't think that there's any real meta here, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I think these guys are just like, I think these guys are entirely invested in like they're just invested in chaos, and it's a win-win. The Order of Nine Angles, ONA, is a satanic left-hand path and terrorist network that originated in the UK, but has since branched out to other parts of the world. Claiming to have been established in the 1960s, it rose to public recognition in its early 80s, attracting attention for its neo-Nazi ideology and activism. Describing its approach as traditional Satanism, it also exhibits hermetic and modern pagan elements in its beliefs. According to the Order's own claims, it was established in the Welsh marches of Western England during the late 1960s by a woman previously involved in a secretive pre-Christian tradition. This account adds that in 1973, a man named Anton Long was initiated into the group, subsequently becoming its Grand Master. Several academics who have studied the ONA believe that Anton Long is probably a pseudonym for the British neo-Nazi activist David Myatt, although Myatt has denied that this is the case. From the late 1970s onward, Long wrote books and articles which propagated the Order's ideas. In 1988, the organization launched its own journal, Fenrir. Through these ventures, it established links with other neo-Nazi Satanist groups around the world, among them the Temple of Blood in the United States and the Black Order in New Zealand. You know what's really crazy about this? There's like left groups as well, right? But they're mostly invested in like political organizing. They're mostly invested in doing like, community charity and fixing people's like busted taillights and stuff like that. What the fuck is the far right doing? This is what they're invested in. Like, just get invested in Dungeons and Dragons, man. What is this fucking fake lore about like satanic neo-Nazi shit? Like, I don't understand. Just watch anime, dude. Why are you doing this? It doesn't make any sense. They're like, they can't even be like regular run-of-the-mill Republicans. They have to be like run-of-the-mill Republicans, but with witchcraft associated with it. By the 2010s, it was attracting further attention for its influence over neo-Nazi militant groups such as Atomwaffen, which is one that primarily recruits from the military. Atomwaffen is like the neo-Nazi group that goes to like military veterans and active duty service members, and they actually have done a bunch of domestic terror in the United States and all around the world as well, where they'll like steal actual explosive ordnance from military bases and then we'll go and like blow shit up. National Action, as well as broader extremist networks like 764. How many of these fucking things exist? What the hell? The ONA promotes the idea that human history can be divided into a series of aeons, each of which, okay, I don't care about any of this. This is so fucking stupid. The ONA eschews any central authority or structure. Instead, it operates as a broad network of associates termed the Collective, who are inspired by the texts, which were originally authored by Long and other members of the inner ONA. The group is composed largely of clandestine cells, which are called nexions. Some academic estimates suggest that the number of individuals who are broadly associated with the order falls in the low thousands. Various rapes, killings, and acts of terrorism have been perpetrated by far-right individuals influenced by the ONA, with various British politicians and activists calling for the ONA to be prescribed as a terrorist group. Nah, they're too busy prescribing Palestine Action as a terrorist group. Sorry. Sorry, can't do that. Best we can do is Palestine Action. If you're an 84-year-old lady who's like blind and can't walk, we're going to put you in jail if you put up a placard that says, I support Palestine Action. That's what England is worried about currently. The ONA has been characterized as a new religious movement. Group presents its teachings as traditional Satanism. Other scholars have portrayed it principally an overlap between Satanism and Nazism, and the historian of religion, Nicholas Goodrick Clark, called it a satanic Nazi cult, while the specialists in far-right politics, Jeffrey Kaplan and Leonard Weinberg, characterized it as a National Socialist-oriented satanic group. Further academic descriptions have highlighted other links. The religious studies scholar Connell R. Mollett called it a blend of Satanism with Hermeticism and some pagan elements. I'm telling you, like, left groups organize on the boundaries of just like doing charity drives. Right-wing organizations that are outside of the boundaries of like normal politics organize on the basis of like doing mass rapes at the behest of a satanic neo-Nazi cult. What the fuck is this? This is why it's so insane whenever people make this like equivalence between the far left and the far right. It's like, no, this is what the far right is doing. What are you saying? Who has time for this? I can't do more than watch a movie and clean my apartment on the weekend, and these guys invent new Magic the Gathering every 2 weeks. Yeah, but it's like Magic the Gathering is fine. It's fun. It's a game. Okay? These guys, yeah, oh, that's the, who could forget? You're discarding the insane violence of eco-terrorists throwing paint at the replicas of famous works of art. That's true. That's true. I forgot. Or sometimes sitting in front of traffic. Sitting in front of traffic and throwing fucking paint at shit. It does blow my mind that while there is no equivalence between the most extreme versions of like left organizing and the most extreme versions of right organizing, and there's no equivalence between the violence that these groups engage with, the amount of time spent on left groups, the amount of time spent on anti-fascists far outweighs the amount of time spent on this shit. Scroll down a little more. The guy called the ideologue of 098 is a straight up white Muslim guy. Lamau, no, I saw. Here, Anton Long's identity. Oh my God. David Myatt, pictured in 1998, is often cited as a central ideologue. The real identity of Anton Long remains unknown for both members of the order and to academics who have studied. However, a 1998 issue of the anti-fascist magazine Searchlight claimed that Anton Long was a pseudonym of David Myatt, a prominent figure in the British neo-Nazi movement. Shared ideas between the two include the belief in a causal realm where the laws of physics do not apply, the idea that human history divides into distinct aeons, support for future colonization of space, and the Star Game, a board game that Myatt claimed to have developed in 1975. Oh my God, these guys always love sci-fi so much. Dude, born in the early 1950s, Myatt had a long history in neo-Nazism, serving as a bodyguard for Colin Jordan of the British movement before joining Combat 18 Militia and becoming a founding member and leader of the National Socialist Movement. In 1973, Myatt has claimed he formed an occult group to serve as a honeypot to pull occultists towards neo-Nazism, but that he left its organization largely to a man from Manchester. Myatt's text on the Practical Guide to Aryan Revolution, in which he advocated for violent militancy in the aid of neo-Nazi cause, was cited as an influence for nail bomber David Copland. Myatt converted to Islam in 1998 and remained a practicing Muslim for 8 years, in which time he encouraged violent jihad against Zionism and Israel's Western allies. In 2010, he announced that he had renounced Islam and was practicing an esoteric tradition that he termed the Numinous Way. When you just want to be a fucking pathic, murderous neo-Nazi so bad that you revert to Islam, what the fuck? What the fuck? He's just like, I don't give a fuck how we kill people, okay? I will do it the Islamic way. I will do it the Christian way. Fuck it. I'll invent my own religion. Who cares? That is insane, dude. Academic scholars of esotericism who have supported Long's identification as Myatt include Goodrick, Clark, Faxnell, and Jacob C. Senhold. Myatt has repeatedly denied allegations that he has any involvement with the ONA, maintaining that he has never used the pseudonym Anton Long. He has claimed that he had personal contacts with people involved in the ONA around the 1980s and that similarities between his ideas and those in the ONA result from the latter's borrowing from him. He said they jacked my shit. Public emergence. The ONA came to public attention in the early 1980s. At this point, Gregorius noted it was most likely very small, possibly having only 1 or 2 actual members over the coming years that issued material for public consumption. It's a secret society, outer representative. Niners, Bolobians, and Runewitha? Interests in Nazism and jihadism. If the identification of Long as Myatt is correct, the ONA would have its ideological foundations in the neo-Nazi movement. The ONA's material contains various positive references to Nazism and neo-Nazism, praising Nazi Germany as a practical expression of the satanic spirit, a burst of Luciferian light, of zest and power in an otherwise Nazarene, pacified and boring world. So these guys are just like, I mean, you know this is white people shit because of that. Okay? This is white people shit exclusively because of that fucking statement. Because ain't no fucking black person, brown person is like, man, the world is so boring and so passive. We should do maximum violence. Okay? This is it. This can only be born out of boredom of your day-to-day existence when you have to be like at least middle class or above to get invested in something like this because you have experienced far too few points of adversity in your upbringing. The ONA also evokes the Nazi leader Adolf Hitler as a positive force in its text of the performance of a black mass, embracing Holocaust denial. It claims that the Holocaust was a myth. These guys will also say the Holocaust is a myth, but it was actually really good that it happened, and it should happen again. Okay? Classic. In order to denigrate the Nazi administration after the Second World War and erase its achievements from the psyche of the West, the group believes that the neo-Nazi revolution is necessary in order to overthrow the Magian Nazarene domination of Western society and establish the Imperium, ultimately allowing humanity to enter the galactic civilization of the future. Senior group member Christos Beast, however, presents Nazi imagery as just one way in which the order works, instead maintaining that they're the only true anarchist group. While the group's black mass commonly invoked Hitler, another version produced by the Austrian ONA group, the Temple of Them, replaces the Nazi leader with the Salafi jihadist Osama bin Laden. What? The group frames neo-Nazism and Salafi jihadism as causal forms, which help to bring down the old order and facilitate the coming of a new aeon. I mean, I guess there is like a little bit of honesty there in terms of the markers, ultraviolence, complete domination of outgroups. Like technically, it is almost the same as like the white guy's understanding of Salafi jihadism. Like it is kind of funny because this still somewhat loops back. This still loops somewhat back to the ways in which this attitude has manifested and has been weaponized by Western forces in the region and has been an incredibly effective tool of, at times, destabilizing predominantly Muslim countries and also simultaneously creating a casus belli for American intervention and Western intervention in general in the region, whether it be invading Afghanistan, whether it be invading Iraq. Like this literally, in post 9/11 world especially, this is so insane. It's like another, I look at this as like yet another instance of the imperial boomerang, like the implementation and the active, dedicated radicalization that Western forces have engaged with, Western intelligence have engaged with in that part of the world, coming back, looping back around and creating instability in the United States of America and in the Western world in general, where, you know, our guys, the American, the American-backed Salafi jihadists become influential figures for white boys who are fucking bored and want to be Nazis because they are bored. Insane, dude. If these guys had a bit of oppression in their formative years, they wouldn't turn out to be this way. Yeah. Go back to the vid, Unc. I mean, the video, we took a sidestep here. No lives matter. Due to the network, this is one of the network's branches. 2021 by Bradley Cadenhead, a teenager from Stephenville, Texas. The group derives its name from the town's zip code. The network is most present on Discord and Telegram and usually targets children aged 8 to 17, particularly marginalized children or those suffering from mental health challenges. Victims are often forced to commit recorded acts of self-harm and animal cruelty to disseminate internally or share on social media platforms, asked to carve names on their skin as cut signs, a form of branding to show their subjugation by the group, and given the end goal of committing suicide on live stream for the network's entertainment or for the perpetrator's own sense of fame within the network. Oh, what the fuck? When aggregated, the community surrounding these groups commonly referred as... This was founded by a 15-year-old who was bullied in school before dropping out in 2021, learned to groom and extort minors on a sextortion Discord server named Cult, which was founded in 2019 by 23-year-old Rohan R., an Indian business student living in France, often blackmailed victims into recording CSAM and degrading acts for commercial gain. Rohan R. told the French court that he was inspired by neo-Nazi and Islamophobic rhetoric, as well as a desire to build a reserve of slaves to fuel his sadism. Okay, that's what the fuck. These are some of the groups. The reason why I'm looking at this is because these are some of the groups that were that are doing shit like this, like the saying that they're going to commit an act of terror on Roblox. It turns out that these are like neo-Nazi groups that also have a proclivity towards, have a warmness towards like Salafi jihadism.
Channels, the ones that are readily available and accessible to people to report through, but those, I guess, aren't the right ones. So where the fuck are they and how can they access them? It's ridiculous. It is absolutely absurd.
Big Balls was in Com. Check it out. Wait, what? I mean, I know Terrorgram is another... Terrorgram, which operates on Telegram, is another version of this this type of thing. And that black white supremacist school shooter and the femcel school shooter were both part of that Terrorgram group. And they do similar things where they just like actively recruit children who are being bullied, who are like mentally ill, and try to get them to commit mass shootings. There's like a value system associated with like being martyred at the behest of for their enjoyment, basically.
And then he makes a mention here of how, like, this one guy who did get arrested for credible terrorist threats still has his account active on Roblox. And there are predators that have been arrested and are currently in jail that still have their accounts active on Roblox. Like, they do not act on this shit, but they will act immediately if they catch a whiff of somebody trying to take matters into their own hands to stop it themselves to make the platform safer. They're instantaneously right there at their door ready to slap them with some legal paperwork here. It's just craziness.
This is literally how it goes. We go to roblox.com/support, submit a moderation ticket, and then fill out the prompt with all the information regarding our arrest.
Bro, when I see stuff like this, I'm like, I don't want to have children anymore. And if I do, by accident or deliberately, I am not letting them have a telephone, a landline. That's like, I'm talking Steve Jobs, late stage cancer, no electronic equipment in the home. Okay. I'm talking, you are using, if I catch you using smoke signals to communicate with the outside world, okay, we're banning fire. Do you understand? No pigeons. You know what? Fuck it. Only pigeons. Okay. Only pigeons. Who would have thought that the Amish were actually doing the right thing as opposed to whatever the fuck this is? Come on, dude. This is tiny, tiny niche. My daughter don't even know this stuff exists. Granted, she's Japanese. There's pretty horrible stuff in Japan as well. I mean, yeah, this is the kind of shit that really banged in Japan. What are you talking about? In the 90s? And even to this day, Japan is a massive cult problem. There's an official spec for the TCP IP protocol for carrier pigeons. Oh, here we go.
and give you guys the same Google Drive that we give to the cops. And in a lot of instances, Roblox won't even ban after we reach out to them regarding felony arrests. What I typically have to do is report cases to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, or go on the news to show gameplay of our decoys with the predators on Roblox. I've literally felt so lost at trying to get the attention of Roblox regarding these predators. I've created binders with all the chat logs, and I've sent it to their headquarters in San Mateo, California. This is the first time Roblox has ever directly reached me out. Instead of trying to say, hey, we want to work with you, or literally giving me a line to report these people, or simply saying, don't make these videos anymore, we're gonna ban you, Roblox just terminated every account I own and sent me this cease and desist.
I feel like it's pretty clear in this case, Schlepp has literally done everything he can to try and let Roblox be the one to get these predators off the platform, putting the ball in their court, hoping that they will do the right thing and act on this information, at the very least investigate it, but they're not.
Like normally these pred hunters are kind of weird, but this dude doesn't seem that weird. I know you're being hyperbolic, but the best thing for kids to have is a minimal screen time so they aren't tech illiterate and to just heavily monitor internet access and what they can see. Oh no, for sure. Wild take from that chatter when the last prime minister was assassinated because of how invasive a cult that managed to acquire so much power that it was able to evade regulation from the government. Yeah, that's true. Shinzo Abe's assassination came from yet another CIA-backed cult that is incredibly influential in Korea and also in Japan. That's true.
Which is why there are groups that are doing it themselves. That's the issue. He has literally exhausted every possible avenue and I guess still hasn't found the proper channel, even though he even sent like physical evidence to their actual brick and mortar location and still got nothing. Like, it's very clear that there is no real proper channels, but they really don't like people trying to stop the predator problem themselves. But Roblox also doesn't want to do it either. So, I mean, what options are left? Just let that continue, let that fester, let Roblox be a platform where children are just completely unsafe? I don't think that's exactly a bright future. This is a platform.
I've heard of this nonsense out in China. That sounds crazy. The reason why I say that sounds crazy is because, like, the Chinese government is so fucking hands-on, too hands-on, with actively monitoring things exactly like this, with the hopes that this doesn't happen. So that is actually surprising. I mean, it's not surprising that there are cults in China as well. Obviously, Falun Gong is one of them. Again, also aligned with the CIA. I know, it's crazy. But why do so many of these cults all around the world always have some level of involvement with the American State Department? I don't know. But this is interesting because, like, it's that kind of cultish, ultra violent attitude that manifests in the heart of empire as well. The Chinese firewall is good, actually. Oh, this is another Hasanabi head. No way, no how. Yes, Falun Gong is the same people that produce Shenyun. Yes. The FBI has opened 250 investigations concerning 764 spanning all 55 field offices of May 2025 and September 2022. The FBI published their first bulletin warning of the public network. Man, it's crazy because, like, for me, I'm over here worried about, like, regular right-wing to far-right radicalization. And I can't believe that there is, like, another flavor of this that even goes beyond, you know, the through line between Asmongold and, like, Nick Fuentes. I'm over here worried about, like, Fox News to Asmongold to Nick Fuentes as the pipeline, okay? Or more so just the Asmongold to Nick Fuentes pipeline. Meanwhile, there are even layers beyond that that contain multitudes and are even more violent and even more indecipherable in their goals. Holy fuck. Also, Slasher says, I went to a games advertising conference featuring Activision Vision Blizzard and Twitch, where Roblox got by far the most interest. In the 2 days of talks from ad execs, the average age of Roblox user was never mentioned once. Roblox has never cared about the safety of their core players, kids. An interesting anecdote with an extreme and irresponsible extrapolation. Extreme and irresponsible, such as Roblox's failure to act on dozens of reported sexual misconduct instances, leading to a YouTuber having to get a senator's attention to prompt a change in policy in the first place? Is that what you meant? Now, this is a more reasonable and responsible commentary on this man. Oh, God, these guys, man. I fucking hate this. I hate guys like this who are just like so pedantic. Very irresponsible in your reporting. And then they fucking agree. Then they agree. They fold instantly, but then still turn around. They will still fucking turn around. That's like half your viewers. I know. I yell at them all the time. All the time. We are unable to do anything to predators that hang outside of group homes and they actively steal and traffic the children. Why do you think we're going to do something to protect children online?
Platform that does desperately need to be cleaned up. It is a huge problem there, and Roblox isn't doing it. Schlepp then tells a very personal experience he had on Roblox when he was a kid, and how he was also a victim of these type of evil people. And when his mother reached out to Roblox to report all of that and give the evidence about everything that had happened to her son, Roblox didn't act on it, and that individual still wasn't banned until years later. There is a problem, and Roblox isn't solving it, so the community is doing what they can to try and keep it safer. But Roblox is attacking the community that is actively trying to do that for them. I think it's bullshit. I think that is fucking baloney right there, and Roblox needs a real change in leadership in how they approach this shit. Maybe Dave Bazzucchi, instead of focusing on bringing dating to a children's game, should focus on trying to keep the children on that game safe. Maybe that should be the priority, I would think.
So the other side of the story that's also scary is that, what is this, the Chinese cult hiding in America? I've never watched Papa Meat before. Is this, oh, it's about Falun Gong? Let's go. It's crazy that there's like more and more American content creators who I would never expect knowing about Falun Gong and Shen Yun. No, I know Papa Meat is Meat Canyon. I'm just saying, I would not expect someone like Meat Canyon to be tapped in and know about like Epoch Times, Falun Gong, all this stuff. So here's the thing. We look at the cults. This is the other side of the story, because there's also a dangerous there's also the dangerous undercurrent of legislators actively trying to implement new steps of surveillance, such as ID restrictions, like demanding that people upload their IDs to go online. And that aspect of it is also like, I don't know what the proper solution to this problem is. I will be the first to admit this. Okay. I don't know how to create a mechanism of enforcement, to create like a regulatory structure to basically stop this kind of stuff from happening, right? Perhaps age-gated hardware could be one of those things, but doing it at the point of like the websites seems like one of the worst possible options. And this is exactly what Taylor Lorenz is talking about in this video from 2 weeks ago. The UK just censored the entire internet.
Back to Free Speech Friday, my series where I cover the fight for free expression, privacy, and civil rights online. The UK's new age verification law just went into effect, and it's already preventing anyone under the age of 18 from accessing information on Reddit about Israeli war crimes. This is yet another example of why these kids' online safety age verification laws are really only about one thing: censorship. The law mandates age verification across all platforms that carry adult content. But as I'm going to explain in this video, that means every single platform. Because while these laws are falsely framed as cracking down on porn, what they deem adult content is far more wide-reaching than you might think. This is why young people suddenly have to upload their government ID or face scan themselves to do things like listen to Spotify or watch YouTube. Every social media app, because it contains news content, is considered adult. This means that everyone, not just kids, but everyone, is now legally required in the UK to upload things like their government-issued ID, live selfies, biometric facial recognition.
I feel like this is one of the most insane ways to try and actively combat the problem of child predation, or like exposing children to what the government decides is inappropriate content. The reason why I think this is incredibly scary immediately is remember that app that came out? I didn't really cover it that much. I briefly touched on it. The T app. It initially started as an application with, I guess, some semblance of honest concern. It was supposed to warn other women that were on the app of like bad men that might do something violent to them, you know, men that have done things that are violent. But it very quickly also spun out of control and turned into like a gossip application. There is no like proof that anyone was doing anything else. Like, you know, people who were scorned could just like easily fucking be like, this is a bad person, this is a rapist, whatever. I mean, it's literally titled T app, but the story doesn't end there. The T application got hacked, and a part of the T application was that you had to upload your identification to use it. And then all of the people that had uploaded their IDs to actually, use the app created a fucking map basically with their zip code, their permanent home address, their identification, their faces. It's crazy. Men downloaded the Counter app using the same programming and got their info leaked too. Yeah, and then there was another Counter app that came out as well. So anyway, the application started. Started off with let's say earnest intention, and then it turned into something that might not be so earnest. But then also, as a counter to that, people went in the opposite direction and leaked the personal data of so many people. And then on top of that, incels went and made a fucking reverse version of this where like, men talk about shitty women, okay? And then now that application is also leaking data. T on her, the male version of T, is leaking personal information on its users too. Last week, we reported about some serious leaks in T Dating Advice, an app that provides a space for women to exchange information about men they know, have met, or have dated in the past. The app aims to provide a platform where people can share relevant information about, say, potential abusive partners. However, it leaked images and private messages, leading to 10 potential class action lawsuits in federal and state courts for negligent data practices. Now it has been revealed that the male equivalent, T on her, has exposed users' personal information as well, including government IDs and selfies. T on her, which ranks high in the lifestyle apps category for iOS, allows men to share photos and information about women they have dated. It appears to have been designed with a sense of vengeance against the T dating app. It uses similar language to the App Store description, and as it turns out, is just as leaky. The IDs on T were stored in a database that was just literally publicly accessible, not defending anything, just adding to the story. TechCrunch reports it found at least one vulnerability that allows any user access to other users' email addresses, driver's licenses, self-reported location, and selfies. Perhaps most distressingly, the news outlet also discovered that guest users could view explicit images of women, likely shared without consent. TechCrunch has also found an email address and password on the app's creator. Are you serious? Are you fucking insane? TechCrunch found an email address and password of the app's creator? Although it didn't test that hypothesis for legal reasons, it seems likely using those credentials might provide access to the administrator panel of the app. It is disappointing that apps made for sharing private information and ranked so high in the App Store apparently have such poor security standard. Okay, I don't know anything about app creation, but this smells like it was made with AI. This smells like AI was a part of the coding process. I say this as someone with zero knowledge of how to fucking make an app, but it looks to me like, Sean is saying it was. There it is. Of course. Vibe coding apocalypse. He admits to using Claude. Oh, it's really cool that a lot of these companies are actually moving in the direction of using AI instead of real humans too, by the way. You know? I'm sure that won't lead to additional fucking problems. Amazing. This is what TechCrunch found. Bro left his email and pass in the API documentation. No way. Okay, that has to be a honeypot then. No way. That seems like that was done deliberately then to get like a bunch of men who wanted to get on the Vengeance app. Oh my God, his password was password 1. I'm seeing it in front of me. In the document cloud, it's the back end page. It has it all. Are you fucking kidding me? His password is password 1 exclamation mark. Are you fucking joking? Why is that in the T on her API backend page? Not even password 2. Password 1 is like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of passwords. At least you got to trick him a little bit. Make him use, do password 2 or something. At least make him do 2 tries, Password 1 is actually very secure because nobody would try something that simple. Placing this here so people have a rundown. TApp hosts all non-code assets, UI images, customer uploads, messages in a public cloud bucket that anyone with a browser can access without a password. Some guy finds it and posted on 4chan yesterday morning. Turns out there are 1,000 women's driver's licenses on there. Within minutes, the licenses are scanned, probably with a vision model, for addresses, and map pins are created that link the UUID of the images in the data set, thereby doxing thousands of women. The pins are not geos, they're home addresses, which is kind of worse. The moral of the story is security is job one. Both the customers and the company to dump things, and now there's going to be massive fallout. Yeah, they literally, they call it the roasties, which is, 4chan incel speak for women. And they're saying like, to say, is an incel gross word to say women. It comes from roast beef. They say women have, incels believe that women who have a lot of sex, they don't know anything about the biology. They think that like women have a lot of sex, have big labias, and their labia keeps growing. Don't explain it. I'm explaining it because it's fucking idiotic. It's my job. Why do you know this lore? I don't know, because I've been fucking duking it out with incels and brain rot for as long as I've been a professional political commentator, because I do it online. Also, explaining it is good because then you know when you see it in the wild.
Credit card info, and more, just to use major platforms like Reddit, Twitter, Blue Sky, and thousands of independent websites. I have an entirely separate video breaking down the problems with age verification more broadly, which I'm linking here. But privacy issues aside, these age verification systems are going to lead to devastating censorship of our news and information landscape, which will ultimately leave young people less informed. Like all of these terrible online censorship bills, the Online Safety Act claims that it's about protecting children from the evils of pornographic and adult content. But immediately after it went into effect, platforms began classifying nearly all breaking news footage, investigative journalism, political protest material, and reporting on the ongoing atrocities around the world as explicit, harmful, and adult content, blocking anyone under the age of 18 from accessing it. In the UK, under the Online Safety Act, access to subreddits dedicated to covering war crimes.
Am I crazy, or is this UK digital panopticon law the latest iteration of Gaza is the trial run for what Western governments can get away with doing to their own citizens? Yes. No, it is absolutely that. The prescription of Palestine action is another one. Dude, there's still people coming in here to be like, you're a fucking terrorist piece of shit. It's like, dude, give it up. We're fucking cooked. All of us are, whether you hate me or not, all of us are in this together. And the quicker you recognize that, the easier things will go for you. Or else you're just going to be angrily posturing all up and down the internet in perpetuity, not realizing why things just suck. Why there is mass surveillance, for example.
The genocide in Gaza, or providing crucial information on reproductive health or sex education, now require age verification. As The Verge reported, quote, effectively, web platforms must either set up an age verification system that poses potential privacy risks or default to blocking.
They're trying to get you banned for violent threats again? What violent threat did I make this time? Ugh. What happened now? Okay, don't say what is it? God damn it, man. Okay, calm down. I want to know what it is. Now I want to know what it is. Is it ban that chatter? They're saying you called H a valid military target. I mean, if someone is participating in a raid in the West Bank, if someone of the Israeli occupying force is participating in a raid in the West Bank, in the process of participating in that raid, just in the process of participating in that raid, yeah, they are a valid military target. This is just the international law. It's not me that is threatening anybody. It's, take it up with the United Nations. It's also something that supposedly Ethan Klein himself believes. So I'm confused. They're saying you currently think she's a valid target? No, of course not. That's fucking idiotic. I've never said that, and I don't believe that. And they're lying. It's the way it's clipped. No, that's fucking bullshit. Reddit seems more obsessed with you than usual lately. I know. D is literally saying someone should kill you, not trying to bring your mood down or anything, but this is going way too far at this point. You should totally get the police involved. Oh, this. So if I started saying shit like Hassan is Hamas propagandist and therefore a legit military target, which, by the way, he does say that. What? He says that every day, which I do not believe. Everyone is going to be okay with that. This is the fourth time a leftist Twitch streamer has explicitly called for me or Hila's death. Nobody has been reprehended for these death threats by Twitch, not once. I've never called for a death threat against Ethan Klein or Hila Klein. That is insane. That's bullshit. And he knows that that's bullshit. He's just actively trying to victimize himself. For comparison on YouTube, Bad Empanada played an FPS game where he played Hamas and murder Israelis. He simulated murdering Hila in a game, resulting in a week-long suspension. I don't even think that happened. It's not something that I believe. It's complete and utter nonsense. You're literally getting drama farmed. Holy fuck, no one cares about these losers. Stop giving them time. I mean, if they're trying to actively try to get me banned, I think it's important to address that. That's completely made up. It's utterly delusional. It's ironically something that Ethan himself has said he believes. You were saying that if the journalist had a picture with Sinwar was a military target, then anyone could be considered a valid military target. What is going on? What? Even the Nazis weren't this blatant. This is just far beyond the pale. It's actually unbelievable. Honestly, think you could perfectly justify attacking and killing Hassan IRL for statements like this. Wow. My cyber stalker cult community leader is saying that it's justifiable to attack and kill me in real life. That's definitely actionable, I'm pretty sure. It's also weird that this guy gets to have a YouTube account. He said that today. Wait, that's today. If we're going to talk about this, the full context and the clip itself, you literally say if it were a part of an active raid in the West Bank or Gaza, that'd be a valid military target. Is so dumb. Yeah, it was linked in the mod chat. Okay, now you're calling for his deplatforming? I'm memeing. He committed a crime, by the way. Yeah, what the fuck? One of his fucking active cyber stalking sex cult members literally approached me in public, if you recall, when I was at the DNC, and he actually celebrated that in his community. So in the past, he has legitimately celebrated people coming up to me and harassing me in the real world. So now he's amplifying that to his own audience, to his own community. And not only is he's just increasing the intensity and saying that it's justifiable to attack and kill me in real life. I think this goes maybe a step beyond drama at that point. Like, you get to stay on Twitch, Hassan, you got laughed out of the DNC. That's crazy that you're watching your favorite content creator issue a death threat to me and you're in here at his behest and you're talking about, I got laughed out of the DNC. This doesn't seem like a clip chimp. This seems like something that is actionable. What will it take? Yeah, this was the average Destiny fan interaction. So this weirdo really went there just for Hassan. I'm shaking. And this was what we found out. And we found out that he was a racist too. I found him. Shouted on his stream. I'm going to tell Hassan, Destiny made you. Y'all need someone to find Hassan's location at the DNC. I'm here. What's this about? Y'all, I'm at the DNC. I'm going to find Hassan. What should I say? Did it. I want to troll, lol. It's Hassan. He's right there. I'm shaking. This was in that same community, Destiny's community, where he's calling for my death. At what point do we stop? At what point do people in his orbit say, hey man, I think you've gone too far? There were certain things that I think people would do back in the day that like all content creators would just stay away from. One of those things was, it's a long time ago now, but like, if you went after someone's sponsors, no matter how fucking gross someone was, no matter how gross a content creator was or how evil they were, many other content creators in the periphery would immediately pounce on that person. Okay? Then the next line that was crossed was doxing. Okay? Doxing content creators. Now, the next line that is crossed is, I guess, issuing direct death threats to content creators. You don't mess with sponsors, Lamont? No, I'm not saying I give a shit about that. I'm saying that was like the attitude amongst like YouTube content creators, where there was like almost like a golden rule that they would not let you violate. People would yell at you. You would have repercussions. So where is the original clip? Like, I know this is the original clip, but where is the clip that was clipped out of context to demand my banning? Because this is the, I know this was like a couple days ago. In the West Bank, doesn't matter if it's your favorite podcasters like Wife that participate in these raids, the violence that the Palestinians engage in an act of resistance against this illegal occupying force is literally legal, definitionally legal. Okay? It's just the truth, straight up. Yeah, this is international law. It could be everyone's favorite content creator. If they are, it could be anybody. Anyone that joins the Israeli occupying force and goes on a raid to the West Bank, which is illegally occupied by the state of Israel under international law, an act of violent resistance against that occupying force is legal. This is not like a matter of, this is not a matter of like, oh, I can't believe you're saying this thing. It's just international law. It doesn't matter that they look to be in garb that makes you think that they're in the right, okay? This is not my opinion. This is not a matter of my own personal opinion. This is me saying this is the law, okay? It would be a mistake not to be alarmed about this. What do you think is going to happen if you talk to him directly at this point? I'm not saying it's a good idea, but he's crossing a line. I think he has lost his mind a long time ago. See, it's content. All they want is content. I know. There's no engaging with a person that has spent the last 6 years actively coming after me. Devil's Advocate, you didn't clarify that it was during that time. They interpreted it as now a target for what she did then. No, there is no devil's advocate. This is the clip. This is the context. In the West Bank, doesn't matter if it's your favorite podcasters like Wife that participate in these raids, the violence that the Palestinians engage in an act of resistance against this illegal occupying force is literally legal, definitionally legal. I'm saying it, in the West Bank. Like, this is the clip they're sharing. Al-Aqsa Brigade, doesn't matter if they're a part of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, doesn't matter if they're DFLP, PFLP, or even former Fatah militants, okay? It is perfectly legal, perfectly valid, and perfectly moral, okay? 100%. This is not like this is not a gray area. This is black and white, okay? It doesn't get more black and white than this. So what's the clip? What's the clip that people are using? I'm confused. He's always going to take you out of context. Got to start ignoring these assholes. I mean, ignoring these assholes is one thing, but if people are, it's a simple concept. In America, we call it very similar idea, castle doctrine. This is the clip. This is 49 seconds. This is from 12 hours ago. No repercussions. PFLP or even former Fatah militants. Okay? It is perfectly legal, perfectly valid, and perfectly moral. Okay? 100%. This is not like this is not a gray area. This is black and white. Okay? It doesn't get more black and white than this. Israel's in the wrong. Israel is actually engaging in an apartheid, which is a crime in and of itself. Israel's doing a genocide in Gaza and an apartheid in the West Bank. 2 crimes in and of itself. And every type of armed resistance against both the settlers and also the Israeli occupying force in the West Bank. Doesn't matter if it's your favorite podcasters like Wife that participate in these raids. Doesn't matter if wait, the clip also features like, I'm so confused. Clip also factors the context. Bro had to make absolutely sure he knew he was talking about Healy here. For real, I thought the title was saying she was including the people. Twitch is probably going to donate subs to him for that one. Bet he won't get banned for this. Yeah, this is me talking about, in the process, in the West Bank, an illegal raid that the Israeli occupying force is conducting. This is not like this is not a matter of my opinion. This is just international law. This is also something that Ethan Klein himself has agreed to. The dumbest people on the internet think this is a death threat. Why is it always a problem if people lack listening comprehension skills? There's like, yeah, this is, okay. Under international law, okay? Under international law, armed resistance against the occupying power is legal, okay? It's just legal. There's no ands, ifs, or buts. Ethan Klein himself has in the past said exactly this. This statement is not even remotely controversial. Not gonna lie, I was gonna say you might get a ban for this until you play the clip. Literally more context in theirs. You say in the West Bank. Yes. They are counting on people just believing them and being bad faith towards you. I don't think people actually watch or understand your words, to be honest. Why are you wasting your stream on this? Hire a lawyer and sue the fuck out of them. It doesn't work that way. But it is remarkable that like this immediately gets base boosted, 7.5K upvotes, and not a single person is like going, what are you talking about? Not only name drop the former IDF secretary living in the US. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying if you are participating in an illegal raid in the West Bank, in the process of said raid, the Palestinians have a legal right to resist. They believe you said violence against HK right now, not when she's doing illegal raids is acceptable. You didn't say this. The context is in the clip, but everyone is just going along with it. There is no point where I have said violence against someone who is not actively in combat is permissible. Okay? That is ridiculous. I don't believe that. That is illegal. This is not, and also immoral. It's a big part of the reason why I also advocate against what Israel is doing. I have also specified that IDF veterans are not valid military targets. Okay? Just because someone is an IDF vet or a veteran in general, if they're in a hospital bed or if they're fucking living out their days, that doesn't make them a valid military target. This is an intentional mischaracterization of my words, but it doesn't even necessarily, it doesn't even seem to be, out of context. They take out of context what you said, that if everyone behaved like the IDF, then nuking Tel Aviv is permissible. Yeah, if Israel's targeting standards were international law, where you could literally kill people and their family members, as Israel has been doing in Gaza, then yes, I don't believe this, but that would be the case. I don't think it's appropriate, and I don't agree with it. I hate this out of context clip where Hassan is saying we should kill Israelis. Violence is never the answer. I think we should kill Hassan as punishment. Yeah, pretty much. The meta is now clips go viral on here and then get shared on Twitter. You even said in your original debate with them that she's not a legal target. These people are just making controversies for the fun of it. Yeah. Do you think that these content creators believe that you made an active death threat, or are they being intentionally obtuse? I think some are being intentionally obtuse, and others are just stupid, I guess. I mean, that subreddit is directly owned by someone who billed himself as Destiny's top orbiter. That's the reason why they do that. And that's the reason why they use that subreddit as a jump off point. And while under normal circumstances, I think the influence of the subreddit because of that has gone away, they still sometimes have a tendency to make impact like this, I guess. And people are not watching the video or trying to understand why it's clipped the way it is. Back in the day, the meta used to be clipping someone out of context to make it seem like they're saying something that they're not saying. Nowadays, they don't even, yeah, this is the guy who owns the subreddit now. This guy on the right. Former Twitch staff, by the way. I've been in here for all the clip chimps of the last 4 years, and so, dude, this is the most pathetic one. They just clip something they disagree with. You aren't saying anything wrong here. Yeah, it's very strange. Every time there's an article on you on major media, I know. So weird, man. It's just fucking weirdo shit. Where is the concerning the internationally recognized right of occupied people to resist their occupation, including with armed force, isn't even an implicit call. Yeah, I saw this. This is okay. I'm liking this. Asserting the internationally recognized right of occupied people to resist their occupation, including with armed force, isn't even an implicit call for your death, let alone an explicit one. You hysterical crybaby. This is desperate desire to be the victim is genuinely pathological. First on all, Oxa is an FPS game where you and then the rest is, I guess, bad empanada. Also, Ethan Klein has incessantly labeled a teen Yemeni TikToker Houthi. Yeah. What is this? DC Jake Tapper, Leo Terrell, New York Post. Stop anti-Semites. Ynet. Is this a joke or is this like a real fucking post? Soundpiker, who was exposed by my husband to be a disgusting creep, is retaliated by calling for violence against me. Think back and you'll notice a trend. When he wants to get at Ethan, he attacks me. This is just another glimpse into the psyche of a man who does not see women as equal. Okay, dude. This is literally girl bossing genocide defense. is a reply to a Visegrad post of that clip. No joke. Visegrad posted it. Wait, send me the Visegrad link. Here, I'll repost the full context and I'll add Hassan Piker. Armed resistance against settlers in the IDF is justified. Doesn't matter if your favorite podcast's wife participated in these raids. Grok more info. Hassan Piker's statement from an August 13th Twitch stream defends Palestinian armed resistance against West Bank settlers and IDF as legal and moral, even if targets include your favorite podcaster's wife, Hila Klein, Ethan Spice, spouse, who served in IDF. Critics view it as inciting violence against civilians. Proponents argue it's valid resistance to occupation. What do you mean critics view it as inciting violence against civilians? You openly, literally say this is in the process of a raid. I'm beefing with a clanker now. Hey, dude, you really need to learn about the attention economy? I don't know what the fuck you're saying. Don't forget, these are the same kind of people who pay to run bot farms to argue with people online and cause a dead internet theory. Yeah. Okay. I was going to post a longer clip with the context in it, but honestly, am I hug boxed here? Like, what's going on? Because, like, this post is not even the longer clip. This post is just the clip. It's a shorter clip. In the West Bank, doesn't matter if it's your favorite podcasters like wife that participate in these raids, the violence that the Palestinians engage in an act of resistance against this illegal occupying force is literally legal, definitionally legal. Okay? It's just the truth, straight up. It doesn't matter that they look to be in garb that makes you think that they're in the right. Okay? Like, the context is in there. And also, Ethan himself has agreed with me. Yeah.
Settlers in the West Bank are religious zealots. They're monsters. They're genocidal. I've even said the West Bank settlers are valid military targets. When you talk about like colonial settlers and stuff, like that's what's actually happening in the West Bank right now. And these people are more or less valid military targets, in my opinion. But it's not rocket science.
Let's get back to the IDF. You said the IDF is maybe not a terror organization. But the IDF is a terror organization.
I didn't say that. Wrong.
Through and through.
Wrong. Again, a liar.
Okay, so you think the IDF is a terror organization?
I said yes.
You believe the IDF is a terror?
I think it's fair to characterize them that way.
You're confused because it doesn't make sense. Like, trying to understand the lady who's obsessed with her psychiatrist doesn't add up. I know, but there's so much motion behind it. You know what I mean? It's just like, that's what fucking is crazy about it. The biggest political streamer on Twitch thinks the FBI should be involved. What is the FBI gonna do? Fucking come to my house and be like, yeah, this is legal. This is your accurate reflection of the legal right of occupied peoples to resist against the occupational military force. Like, wife that participate in these raids, the violence that the Palestinians engage in. When did you become so sensitive? I don't know. Maybe a lot of these people are running around and demanding that I get shot in the fucking street for saying that this is the international law. Like, my number one cyber stalker over the course of the past fucking 7 years now is openly telling his community that clips like this, me saying what international law is about an occupied people's legal right to resist against the occupational military force, justifies people attacking and killing me in real life. It is literally in the UN resolution. The General Assembly reaffirming its faith in the importance of implementation of the Declaration of Granting Independence to Colonial Countries and Peoples, continued in its Resolution 1514 of December 14th, 1960. This is the importance of the universal realization of the right of peoples to self-determination, the speedy granting of independence of colonial countries and peoples for the effective guarantee and observance of human rights. Wait, this doesn't have the resistance, I don't think. Like, that is a real death threat. What I'm saying is not a death threat at all. What I'm saying is just what the law is right now. It doesn't matter if it's someone that you like, someone who you enjoy the content of. If they are in the IDF at that moment, while they're in the IDF and participating in an illegal raid, occupied peoples have a right to resist militarily against the occupational force. This is legal and moral. Here. If the occupying power considers it necessary for imperative reasons of security to take safety measures concerning civilians, it may, at most, subject them to the assigned residence or internment. Assigned residence could mean their own homes or elsewhere, as with the temporary evacuation described above. After effective occupation of territory, members of the territory's armed forces who have not surrendered, organized resistance movements, and genuine national liberation movements may resist the occupation. If they do so, they must distinguish themselves from the civilian population on the basis of GP1, at least carry their weapons openly during attacks and deployments. Civilians who take direct part in such hostilities lose their protection against attack for the time of their direct participation, but not their civilian status. If they do not participate directly in hostilities, or no longer do so, for example, if they are hors de combat, which means no longer a participant in combat, as in, even if you are a member of the military, and this goes for members of the military, if you are retreating, if you are fleeing the battle, if you are a prisoner of war, there are new rules applied. If you're in the hospital, you are not an active enemy combatant. You cannot be killed by the occupational forces. You cannot be killed by the resistance forces. They are protected against their attacks. You know this from the lesson on the conduct of operations. Indirect support for the resistance movement, such as providing information or non-military supplies, does not constitute taking a direct part in hostilities. Those so engaged are civilians and therefore protected against attack. They may, however, be in contravention of security laws passed by the occupying power. In that case, they can be tried and sentenced for their freedom of movement restricted. Here, this is the 37th session of the UN General Assembly. Reaffirms the legitimacy of the struggle of peoples for independence, territorial integrity, national unity, and liberation from colonial and foreign domination and foreign occupation by all available means, including armed struggle. It has been reaffirmed time and time again. Are you worried? No. Not really. What can I do? What can I do? There's nothing I can do. It is what it is. Oh well. I do think that it's gotten worse over time and will only continue to be elevated by Asmongold and many other people like this, who are just like awful, monstrous sociopaths. That's crazy. It is what it is, I guess. The resistance against this illegal occupying force is literally legal, definitionally legal. Okay? It's just the truth. And
no, it's not. If somebody attacks Hila Klein, they're gonna go to jail.
Yeah, no shit, you fucking moron. I'm talking about in her participation in an illegal raid in the West Bank. Oh, God. No, it's not. Yeah, of course if someone were to attack Hila Klein right now, of course they should go to jail. What kind of fucking idiocy is this? Oh, my God.
Why is he telling people this? Why would he be what is wrong with you? Do you think he'll get banned for this? At this point, I don't think so. I think that Twitch just doesn't care. I do. I think that Twitch they're so ideologically captured by...
Yeah, Twitch is so woke. That's why they fucking never ban your bitch ass, dude. I don't know if they're actually intentionally obtuse or they're this stupid. Hassan, he's not misreading you by mistake. He's moving the conversation to something that makes you look bad. Yeah, of course. I know. I understand. I mean, or maybe he's that stupid. I don't know. He's definitely that stupid. It's a bit of both, I think. But again, it's no holds barred for these people. Okay? What is this? They're simultaneously too stupid and they're hate farming this? I know. All right. Still dealing with the drama? Damn, sorry to hear. Both sides egg each other on. It's not a both sides situation. It's not a both sides situation at all. This is just one side actively choosing to lie about what the contents of the video openly states. Like, at this point, it is turned into, like, back in the day, at least there was an attempt to clip something out of context, okay? Now it's turned into clipping things in context, but just seemingly lying about what the video is, and people's attention spans have shortened to such a degree that they don't even watch the video and try to understand it. It's so strange. But what's strange is that it works to a certain degree. to the dumbest guy out there, they hear that and they go, oh, I guess that like this Hassan guy is really fucking violent and scary. He wants like death threats against random content creators and their wives and shit. It's like, no, that's not what I'm saying at all. Yeah, it's just every time I get like positive press or something, these guys go gung ho and try to find any way to like actively get the internet communities to stir up some panic with the most ridiculous, intentionally obtuse, malicious smears. But I mean, the death threat thing, like actively demanding that I get killed. Demanding that I get killed is actually a bridge too far, I think.
Like, I don't know what to do. I don't. He wants in on the lawsuit? I guess so. I mean, like, he's making a direct call for violence. A direct and immediate call for violence against people that are American citizens. That's insane. Oh my God. Yeah, now you come to that conclusion? Well, I mean, no, I've said that before. I mean, I have. And so, yeah, make a post like with Alpha Mike. Let's share it. Yeah, I think that's something Ethan should report to the FBI. Honestly, yeah.
Bro, this fucker has the most whiny way of speaking. It's so blatantly fake. Why does it matter being against American citizens? Am I missing something? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what he's even trying to imply there. It is pretty crazy, though. It's going to get you even more lost souls to convince the more jingoistic they go. Don't give them the satisfaction or even being seemingly worked up. They get even more feral. You've done nothing wrong. No, I know. I think he's just trying to throw shit at a wall to see what sticks.
Like, I'm gonna be real. Like, I think that, like, I mean, at this point, like, you have, like, it's domestic terror. Yeah, I mean, report what? Report that you have a person that's on a platform that's making an open call for violence and insinuating that one specific person should be a victim to that.
I mean, we just watched like the Roblox shit, right? Of online communities that are like radicalized to do random acts of violence. And here you have Destiny's community actively pushing, like Destiny using his community to actively come after me in a violent way. Streamer Destiny, Stephen Kenneth Bonald II, is attempting to incite his audience to attack Kill Hassan Piker in real life for arguing that Palestinians should be allowed to defend themselves against war criminals breaking into their homes to kidnap them in the middle of the night. Honestly, I think you could perfectly justify attacking killing Hassan for IRL statements like this. People are saying, Destiny, this is just so far beyond the pale, it's actually unbelievable. Pepe, say less. Put me in. Cinema. Destiny, say no more. Salute. Okay, never mind. I'm re-Googling all this shit because I was under the impression that heritability literally just refers to general pattern observed between apparent options. Okay. Destiny, holy shit. Does this grant me moral authority to do it? Will Asmongold talk about how unacceptable this is? Probably not, considering that he himself is talking about how this should be like my accurate assessment of international law in the process of an illegal raid that an occupational force is conducting on an occupied peoples that is illegally occupied is what he perceives as a death threat. I fucking hate this industry, man. It really sucks. You said fun? Okay, well, I didn't realize that I was going to be getting fucking death threats from... I didn't realize that we were going to pass this red line as well, you know? Oh, well. International law gives... Fine. Stop being so passive. An illegal content creator or not. I genuinely think you need to use some of your resources on this one. It's going to make moves. Good to make moves when they're overextending. Yeah. To be honest, the fact that you even discuss his manner is immature. You have interviewed opposition leaders to heads of state and ranking politicians, yet you keep talking about this terminally online gossip, slop entertainment. Well, I don't know if you noticed this, but the terminally online gossip, slop entertainment is being used as a vehicle to try to deplatform me for doing exactly that. And not only that, but also it has led to people issuing active death threats to their communities against me. So I think it's a little bit different than just like immature online gossip slop. At what point does it turn into like a real crime? I think this is the point where it has turned into a real crime. But will you consider it to be something beyond online gossip slop when I either get deplatformed or when I get killed, potentially, by a psychotic cult fan I mean, that's a death threat. If I can't be upset about an active death threat, what can I be upset about? If an active death threat is considered gossip slop online, I don't know. This might surprise some people, but ignoring problems doesn't make them go away. Yeah, I mean, I wish it was the case. I wish it did. I have ignored it quite a bit. I've ignored it for the longest time, hoping that it does go away, but it seemingly does not, you know? Instead of taking care of his son, who is now turned into a Nazi, the sociopathic cult leader is actively telling his audience that it's moral to kill me in real life because I said Palestinians have a legal right to resist against an illegal occupying force conducting a night raid. Anyway, that's insane, man. Yeah, this is a solicitation to kill me from the guy who yesterday, I guess, admitted that he likes 15-year-old girls too. He attacks me just so he can maintain plausible deniability while he goes after Hassan, but I respect you, my Australian warlord. Bro, you literally say in the clip she's 15. What the fuck? Have you seen the 15-year-olds they're putting out today, though? Yeah, no, I mean, I posted this. Go boost it. No, this isn't fucking edgy humor, chat. That's crazy. That's not edgy humor. That's someone telling their community to hunt me down, justify attacking / killing Hassan IRL for statements like this. Anyway, let's get back to the Online Safety Act.
Huge swaths of potentially questionable content, or entirely pull out of the UK. Residents are finding themselves locked out of anything from period-related subreddits to hobbyist forums. 4 out of the top 5 free apps on the UK Apple Store right now are VPN services, as people are desperately trying to circumvent these filters and access crucial news information. But many systems have ways to detect VPNs, and the government will likely crack down on VPN use as well. Users on Reddit are reporting entire subreddits are now blocked in the UK. A post on one tech support subreddit shows the message, quote, "Due to local laws, we are temporarily restricting access to this content until we can estimate your age." Users on r/UK politics encountered a message reading, quote, "If you have a standard X account in the UK, presumably the vast majority of British users, you cannot see any protest footage that contains any violence tonight because of the Online Safety Act." Reddit has also blocked access to specific subreddits that contain crucial public health related information, like r/periods, r/stop smoking, r/stop drinking, and other subreddits that provide essential community support to users, including minors, like r/sexual assault, for example. These are all blocked. In fact, young people cannot access any information about sexual assault or potential abuse under these new child safety laws, meaning that they're actually less able to identify abuse and more likely to be exploited. The stuff that's being blocked under these child safety laws, like war reporting, human rights documentation, protest footage, LGBTQ and reproductive justice content, is essential content that all young people should have access to in order to remain informed about the world. This mass gating of information is preventing people under 18 in the UK from accessing things like independent reporting, witness testimony of crimes, community analysis of war atrocities. Instead, young people are being fed a sanitized, mainstream, government-approved version of the internet. It's crucial for young people to learn and become educated about the world, and also to be able to gain access to information outside government propaganda and the mainstream media, which, let's be honest, mostly regurgitates government propaganda. These child safety laws limit young people's opportunities for critical thinking and civic understanding, and they isolate young people from global perspectives and from connecting with other young people in foreign countries like Palestine or China. And the way that enforcement of these child safety laws works, platforms are forced to err on the side of caution by over-blocking vague categories of potentially disturbing content rather than having a more liberal approach. Young people are also being forced to provide highly sensitive personal data like their government documents, selfies, and biometric scans. Organizations including the Electronic Frontier Foundation and the Open Rights Group have flagged serious concerns that these age verification policies are a privacy nightmare. And meanwhile, these free VPNs that everyone's downloading risk exposing young people to even less regulated corners of the web, which totally undermines the people in power's whole stated goal of child safety. Not to mention the proliferation of free and shady VPN apps also raises privacy risks. And if you think that this is only happening in the UK, I need you to wake up, because the US Supreme Court has upheld age verification laws at every state level, with states like Nebraska and New York adopting similar frameworks to the UK. Australia and Ireland are also introducing variants of age checks and digital ID systems. Both the Democrats and the Republicans are completely aligned in ramming age verification laws through Congress and removing all free speech and the right to anonymity on the web. Leftists have completely dropped the ball on this issue. There is no meaningful opposition to this stuff in the US outside a few fringe libertarian groups and some journalists. And a lot of people on the left have spent the past several years feeding into the exact moral panic nonsense that these laws are predicated on. Also, I just want to reiterate again that age verification does not protect the youth from anything but information that the government doesn't like. Young people still find a way to access porn. They're simply locked out of accessing crucial content about news, health, privacy, etc. These laws also don't account for educational use or parental supervision on different platforms. They just create this binary system where all graphic or controversial or news content is treated the same, regardless of the context that it's presented in. We need to do everything we can right now to fight back against the moral panic about social media and fight these atrocious censorship bills that erode our civil liberties and destroy our right to free speech and free expression online. All right, that's it for this week's Free Speech Friday. Don't forget to subscribe to my tech and online culture newsletter, User Mag.
Isn't there another one that she did on this issue? Oh, the worst
Full
updated
biometric
history.
scans just to watch certain YouTube videos. YouTube is the Welcome back to Free Speech Friday, my series covering the fight for free expression and civil liberties online. This week, YouTube rolled out automatic age verification in the US. It forces users who the company's AI system guesstimates might be under 18 to submit their government IDs or full biometric scans just to watch certain YouTube videos. YouTube is the first major tech platform to preemptively normalize invasive identity.
Here's a video on COSA. Oh, this is the one I was looking for.
What we're doing is handing a weapon to the government that can be whatever the government wants. And when that weapon targets speech and ideas, it's a real big problem.
Welcome back to Free Speech Friday. Today, I want to talk to you guys about one of the most dangerous laws in Congress right now. It's called the Kids Online Safety Act, and it was recently reintroduced by a bipartisan group of lawmakers, but it's being heavily pushed by the Democrats. It's a law that claims to make kids safer online, but please don't let the name fool you, because this law would give the government unprecedented power to censor speech across the entire internet in the name of protecting kids. From mental health support communities to LGBTQ forums, COSA endangers the very spaces that young people turn to for help, identity, and connection. The Heritage Foundation has come out and said that it plans to use COSA to censor LGBTQ content off the internet. And Marsha Blackburn, the bill's co-sponsor, said that COSA must be passed in order to, quote, protect minor children from the transgender in this culture. Today, to help me break the whole bill down, is Ari Cohen from the Foundation for Individual Rights and Freedom. He's a brilliant tech policy expert and one of the foremost free speech lawyers in the country. Ari, welcome to Free Speech Friday.
Thanks for having me.
I feel like you and I have discussed COSA before on this very podcast, I think.
Too many times.
Okay, so this law sounds pretty good, I think, to a lot of people that don't know what's going on. Why is it so dangerous? Walk me through kind of the biggest reason why COSA is so harmful and will lead to such censorship.
So the law includes something that's called a duty of care. And it requires social media platforms basically to protect people against certain kinds of harms like anxieties, suicidal ideations, eating disorders, things like that. That requires platforms to look at content and say, this is going to cause someone harm. And if it is, what they're going to do is they are going to stop kids from seeing it because they could get in trouble if it causes some kind of damage, or even the government thinks that it might.
So I want to give people a concrete example, because when you say it requires the platforms to prevent showing harmful content, that sounds good, right? Give me an example of how that might play out in a negative way. Because I think the biggest issue here is that platforms, what someone considers harmful content, especially under the Trump administration, is LGBTQ content, right?
That's exactly right. And this duty, it applies to the design features. So say the content recommendation system, the algorithm that provides you what's on your feed. Take the example you just gave, LGBT content. There is a contingent on the right that thinks that kids are turning trans just because they read things on the internet. Say the Attorney General of the United States sends a letter to Facebook saying,
This is what happens when the dumbest, most hateful people are the ones making all of the decisions. It's so crazy.
this is harmful material for children. What's Facebook going to do? They're going to tailor the content recommendation system so that it excludes anything related to being transgender whatsoever, because that is the safest thing for them to do, so nobody can say you're causing kids harm. Which means you're not going to see any trans related content if you're a minor, which means if you are trans, you might think you are all alone. You are not going to be able to find support, community, resources, or anything like that in the way
Tea leaf, free leaf. Thank you for the 50 gifted subs.
that I, as a little gay kid in a religious Jewish community who had never even heard of the fact there were other gay people, was able to find support and community on the internet when I was a kid. We're basically going backwards.
Yeah. And especially, I think, to do it at this time when we know other stuff that's considered harmful content is reproductive justice content, information about women's health care, anything about women's issues, civil liberties, social justice issues. These are all considered sort of harmful content, anxiety inducing.
And what's harmful content will grow and change and morph with whatever the subjective values of the person doing the determination is at any given time. And Republicans should probably beware as well, because when Democrats get elected into office again, should they ever decide they want to win an election, what's going to happen? They're going to target stuff that the right likes and say that's harmful to minors. What we're doing is handing a weapon to the government that can be whatever the government wants. And when that weapon targets speech and ideas, it's a real big problem.
Well, let's talk about some of those problems, because everything you just said, I think, again, to people sounds great, right? Like all they hear about all day is the harms of these platforms. And obviously these platforms do a lot of really nefarious bad things. But this law, I would argue, is really dangerous and bad. Number one is the censorship, right? Like this is essentially a coded censorship bill. So can you sort of walk me through how that sort of like duty of care could be weaponized to silence speech?
Quite easily, in fact. First of all, the original version of COSA didn't revolve around quote unquote design features. What it did was it imposed a duty of care to prevent and mitigate those classifications of harm. And that initially drew criticism, including from me, because a duty of care means platforms, first of all, they have to figure out how users will reasonably react to certain content. And the problem with all of these kids bills so far is that they treat minors as a monolith. They treat them as a big group that all have the same interests and the same mental state, the same capacity, and it requires them to treat them all the same. But different kids, particularly with respect to, say, a 14-year-old versus a 17-year-old, have different reactions, different experiences, different ways they manage and cope with different content. And even within the same age range, different kids are different. They have different life experiences. They don't all react to content in the same way. So how platforms are supposed to figure it out for kids as a whole, I don't know. The alternative is that social media platforms have to be each kid's virtual psychiatrist. And if you don't trust social media companies to be taking care of kids in the first place, I don't know why you would trust them to do that. Either way, it's an impossibility. So what results from that is that platforms have to basically restrict for minors everything but the safest content.
When you say safest, like what does that even mean?
That's a great question. I don't know. Basically, like the content that would not even set off a reaction in even the most sensitive kid. And that's basically nothing. And we've been here before. Parents have tried to sue broadcasters, video game makers, the makers of Dungeons and Dragons for quote unquote harming kids, and the courts have all rejected the duty of care on First Amendment grounds because they've said that would basically restrict allowable speech to the most sensitive members of society. So what did the COSA sponsors decide to do? They made it, instead of directly about the content, they said, okay, this is only about design features. And to some people, that would seem to make sense. But let me read you again. Take reasonable care in the creation and implementation of any design feature to prevent and mitigate, say, mental health disorders, including anxiety, depression, eating disorders, substance use disorders, and suicidal behavior. So take infinite scroll. because that's usually cited as one of these design features.
And just infinite scroll means basically a feed that continues to refresh.
Right. So I'm not sure how infinite scroll, if you don't consider the content at all, could possibly cause an eating disorder. It would always have to do with the content that is displayed. And also, the fact of the matter is, Twitter's feed, Facebook's wall, what have you, those are all also design features. There is no way to mitigate against these harms, that they're very content-based harms, without considering the content, because features don't do anything to kids at all. They're just there.
Let's kind of put this a lot more in layman's terms. What you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is they've tried to sort of reform this bill, which was essentially, it sort of fell off the map initially because it was very obviously a censorship bill. Now they're back saying we're not regulating the content, we're regulating these dangerous features, like keeping kids scrolling forever and these dangerous design features. And this is what you hear also from these groups that I deeply disagree with, design it for us. And they're it's the features that are the problem, not the content. But as you're saying, you can't really decouple the two, because a feature in itself isn't inherently harmful. It's the content that it's delivering that is being litigated.
I always tell people, if we were in a situation where social media presented nothing but educational content and funny cat videos, and kids were staying up late at night under their comforter, unable to sleep because they're too busy learning from social media, and they were sleeping too much during class because they were up late all night learning, would we have this same panic? No, we wouldn't. It is all about the content, and they barely try to hide it, and now they're trying just a little bit, and it's still completely insufficient, because really what they're going after is the content. And if there's one thing
thank you for another
that the First
50
Amendment doesn't
bomb.
allow, it is the suppression of content just because the government finds it objectionable or harmful. And that's what this bill does, and it gives the government a ton of power to decide for everyone what that harmful content is.
I think that's actually such a good way to think about it, because I think actually that's maybe a good test for any of these internet laws is if the content on these apps was, as you said, the most wholesome educational videos ever, would this law still be necessary? And no, it wouldn't. I think there's also just a lot that's sort of presupposed in this law. For instance, the idea that social media is inherently harmful and dangerous, and it's leading to compulsive usage and all of these other things. The eating disorder stuff drives me crazy, because I grew up also in the aughts, where when I was a kid, all we had were these magazines that promoted the most blatant eating disorder. The entire media promoted eating disorders. And in fact, we have the body positivity movement because of social media. And young girls today especially, are exposed to more diverse body types because of the internet. And yet we see this sort of trope that the internet is leading kids into these things.
How soon we forget even very recent history. There's also the quote unquote addictive feeds issue. And I am not sure if these people are consumers of any kind of media, because the entire purpose of media is to keep your eyeballs and your attention. And that's why we have cliffhangers at the end of episodes. That is why we have, say, commercials that tease episodes and automatic play of the next episode. It's because the entire purpose of media is to keep you watching. And if you try and say that is inherently a bad thing, then where do we go from there? Because what you're saying basically is that addiction to ideas is a thing. I don't want to live in a world where that is a legally cognizable thing, because that is terrifying.
It's even worse than that too, because they're not just saying that you're addicted to consuming information and entertainment or whatever, which is absurd on its face. Like you said, it's you're addicted to reading. It's also addicted to communication. I think of Tristan Harris, who I deeply disagree with, talking about Snapchat's streaks feature, which for people who don't know, sort of encourages you to message somebody every day. If we message each other each day that we continually message each other counts towards our streak. So if we've had 100-day streak, that means we've sent each other at least one message a day for 100 days. Now, this is something that these people that claim social media is isolating us and it's making us all miserable and all this stuff, you would think that they would actually love, right? Wow, it's encouraging you to keep in touch and directly communicate with your friends. Tristan Harris described it as being chained to your best friend on a treadmill and being forced to run. And there was all these endless moral panic articles about the anxiety that's giving kids to break their Snapchat streaks.
That's very old man yells at cloud territory.
It's absurd, but it leads to legislation like this too, where we know that the primary use of Instagram and most other social media apps among teenagers is actually not even through consent. It's messaging, it's DMs. Adam Massari said that the majority of teens spend most of their time on Instagram in DMs, communicating with each other, messaging each other, group chats basically. And that's what we're telling them is so like negative, and it's like you're addicted to communicating with your friends. It just reminds me of the moral panic over telephones and landlines, and like the woman is talking on the phone for too long, you know, and it's going to destroy her marriage or whatever.
I don't know. I feel like the point of regulation should come at the hardware side. Like it's understandable to demand some kind of limitation for minors and what they do online. I think it's probably not the worst idea, but I don't think ID verification for every single person that is going on a website is the appropriate measure, especially on like especially on what the government has decided is what children shouldn't see. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think that so you're pro mass surveillance? No, I said hardware limitations, not mass surveillance. Like having some kind of safeguard that you give to minors that parents should implement, as opposed to mass surveillance, as opposed to having people put their identifications, as opposed to having people put their ID on. Like ID verification is I think a horrible setup. How does China do it? China has complete ID verification, I think. Everything that you do is connected back to your identity. China is like your wallet, your ID, everything is on your phone already. So China already has the most aggressive forms of government surveillance, which is interesting because a lot of people criticize that kind of government surveillance. But yeah, your identifying number is tied to everything that you're doing, both online and also offline. As a matter of fact, things that you're doing offline still require your online ID. Why is ID a bad thing? Well, one, it improves government surveillance, which already exists. But more importantly, it also opens up every single person to potential harm. Look at what happened with the T application. Look at what happened with the counter T application, where leaks happen and then you have people's identities all over the internet. Think about it like think about it in the real world. In the real world, imagine demanding IDs for everything that you're doing. Like for walking down the street, for talking to your friend, going to the movie theater. And one might say, well, there's like age, there's some kind of safeguards against like children watching shit that they shouldn't be. And there's truth to that, even though people obviously try to avoid that actively. The only thing that you have an ID verification for is purchasing certain things like alcohol, right? But this basically means like everything requires ID. You're pretending we don't already live in that reality with advertisers? I mean, it's even worse than that, because at least like with advertisers, they have your geolocation, they have all your data. It's harder to trace it. It's harder to track it down and pinpoint it to the user. Whereas with this, it's literally your ID. It's your address and your fucking ID. You could still you could still pinpoint this information with everything that data brokers sell. But I feel like this is beyond that. An ID scan to buy beer isn't the same as a permanent picture stored in some third-party site. Exactly. This major ID database owned by an Israeli company was revealed to be leaked for 2 years. ID verification service for TikTok, Uber, X exposed driver's licenses. As social networks and porn sites move towards verified identity model, the actions of one cybersecurity researcher showed that ID verification services themselves could get hacked too. Yep. I think you're underestimating how normalized this is for younger people. I just graduated and my teachers could literally see a live feed in my browser at all times, even from home. And trying to write a paper about gun violence meant having the government stats on it be censored by the firewall. I don't think that it's like, I don't think it's better to say, well, it happens already, so we should have more of it, you know? Chatters University accepted invasive app. Trump announces new health tracking system. Experts raise ethical and legal concerns. Trump announces new health tracking system. Trump admin announces launching a new program that will allow Americans to share personal health data and medical records across health systems and apps run by private tech companies. Are you fucking joking? More than 60 companies, including major tech companies like Google, Amazon, and Apple, as well as healthcare giants like United Health Group and CVS Health, have agreed to share patient data in the system. The initiative will focus on diabetes and weight management, conversational artificial intelligence that helps patients, digital tools such as QR codes and apps that register patients for check-ins or track medications. Bro, I just can't, I can't tell. I don't know. It's so fucked, man. Everything is so fucked. Like, who knows what they could do with this information? I can't tell if I'm being too alarmist about this or if I'm not being alarmist enough about this. You know?
Since they were pushing back in the 70s.
As ever, we've been here before.
Where are these like presupposed beliefs coming from? Why do you think that there is so much stuff in this law that sort of assumes that social media is inherently addicting? It is responsible for the decline of mental health. Like, where do you think this is all coming from?
Well, you get a lot of them from the moral panic pieces, as you said, and a lot of it is also Jonathan Haidt. His book, The Anxious Generation, kind of put it into the mainstream of like pop psychology, basically, even though none of that evidence is causal. It's all correlational. And I'll take your listeners on a brief law tangent, real brief. When laws target speech based on the content of the speech, they have to go through a legal test called strict scrutiny. The courts will apply strict scrutiny. And one of the parts of that test is that the government has to prove that there is an actual problem in need of solving. And when California tried to ban the sale of violent video games to minors, it put forth an expert who put his study there that said this is, correlates with higher mental health problems and acts of violence. And the court said, no, you have to have causal evidence. You have to have actual data that shows this is a problem. And all of the studies so far have said there's a correlation, but there's not necessarily causation. In fact, some studies have found a positive effect on kids' mental health. And so the science is very much not there yet. But Jonathan Haidt keeps pushing for this kind of legislation, saying it's the only thing we can do. It's the only reasonable response to this kind of data, which of course is still correlational. It's just that's a lot of what's driving this.
It is. It's a lot of nonsense. And this is a man, by the way, who's on the board of Barry Weiss's fake censorship university. So I don't think he cares much about the speech concerns here.
Well, he's actually come out and said, oh, Elon Musk and Linda Yaccarino say it's not a free speech problem, as if they are the two foremost experts on First Amendment law in the country. I was like, okay.
Elon Musk, who's banning journalists, who has currently banned multiple journalists for reporting critically on him and is one of the most anti-free speech tech CEOs ever. He's constantly threatening defamation suits around anyone who covers him critically.
My jaw dropped when I saw that. I was like, do you know what a credible source versus a non-credible source is? Because this does not indicate that you do.
He does not. But speaking of Elon, actually, and I think another thing that you hear from people is, well, we've changed COSA a little bit and now tech companies are on board. X actually supports this legislation. So does Apple. So if it is really so dangerous to these tech platforms and companies, why would Apple and X support these types of laws?
Well, I don't know that it's necessarily dangerous to the companies. The companies that operate globally are kind of already set up for compliance, and Apple probably sees itself in a way as already kind of doing all of this in a sense.
Yeah, Apple also doesn't have social media.
Right. And there's a side effect of that. If there's actually a war right now over if there is going to be age verification, should it be the device manufacturer or the App Store? And Apple certainly has an interest in that dispute and would much rather it be the social media platforms. The company's job is to look after their bottom line. It's not necessarily their job, although everyone thinks they should look after users' free speech. So companies might support it, but you have to realize that the company's interests and your interests are not necessarily aligned. In fact, the sponsors of COSA will tell you that users and platforms do not have aligned values because they are saying over and over and over again how platforms only follow their business interests. They only do what's going to protect their bottom line, which, by the way, means that, yeah, of course they're going to over-censor because their bottom line says you have to be cautious or you're going to get...
Would an ID ensure accountability for shit like online harassment and other insane shit? Not necessarily. That's something that I've thought about as well. Because one of the oldest things that people say is oh, you wouldn't say that in the real world. You wouldn't say that behind if you weren't behind a keyboard. That's a classic take, right? I mean, I myself have entertained it before as well, or I will regularly say things like, oh, you, under the guise of anonymity, people feel like they can get away with saying certain things. Okay. Having said that, however, I don't think that this actually fixes the problem at all. One, because I feel like there are places where similar implementations exist, and that hasn't really cut back on the criminal things that people are doing online. Someone said, yeah, case in point, South Korea. But not only that, but also, I mean, there are so many crimes that the law enforcement, like there are so many crimes that law enforcement is just so woefully unequipped to tackle, whether it happens in the physical space or whether it happens online. And especially if it's online, it brings an entirely different variable. Unequipped or uninterested, I mean, it doesn't really matter whether they are uninterested or truly interested. They just can't do it. That's my point. They haven't been able to do it. I think they are both ill-equipped and also disinterested, for sure. So I just don't know what the proper solution is in general, which sucks because usually I'm the guy who's supposed to tell you, like, this is what should be done. I worry about, I mean, this is the same principle behind TikTok, right? I talked about how much brain rot TikTok is actually creating and how bad it is. But then also, well, the reason why people wanted to ban TikTok was because of Israel, right? And so very quickly, I was like, all right, well, regardless of the issues, I think we should still allow TikTok to exist. And this kind of feels the same way, where are there tremendous problems with like young people getting brain rotted online? Absolutely. I don't know if the solution is to make every single person put their identification online so that they can personally use these websites that shouldn't require identification at all, like Spotify or YouTube, and place yourself in the mercy of Palantir. I think parenting as a solution is a cop-out. That's one thing I don't think is appropriate as a retort, for the record. That's like classic right-winger speech. You know, oh, dude, what good parenting is the solution. It's like saying, like, that's not how the government works. You know what I mean? We're talking about regulation. You have to, if we're talking about like the regulatory process, like we can't just talk about how parents need to be better parents. Like, you're right. You're not wrong. It's just like, but that's not the point of contention here.
Time on political YouTube, you've likely come across.
This is the other side of the story. This is from friend of the show, No Way, No How, glazing the Chinese firewall. So I know many people were asking, like, what's the Chinese solution to this? Well, let's take a look at what China's
countless
doing.
Lazy, oversimplified videos portraying the Chinese government as an oppressive regime that brutally censors the internet to keep its population in the dark. Western media constantly pushes the narrative that Chinese internet restrictions are inherently bad, claiming that Chinese people live in an information bubble, have no knowledge of the outside world, and lack the ability to voice concerns. They're all wrong. These criticisms don't come from a place of genuine concern for the Chinese people. Instead, they stem from a deeply ingrained sense of Western superiority. The idea that the free Western internet is the golden standard and that Western democracy is the only legitimate form of governance. However, with every passing day, this claim becomes more impossible to defend. The illusion of free speech in the West is rapidly crumbling as social media platforms are openly manipulated by their billionaire owners and as Western governments increasingly suppress dissenting voices, especially when it comes to correctly critiquing them for supporting a genocide. All the way to the extent that you will lose your job, diploma, or even be deported for being mean to a country the US really likes. The reality is that China's internet firewall exists for a reason. Not about controlling the people with some devious repressive intentions in mind, but about protecting social stability, national security, and economic independence. In today's video, we're going to debunk the two biggest misconceptions about China's internet firewall. The first being, the firewall limits Chinese citizens' access to the outside world, keeps them heavily propagandized, and prevents them from understanding other political and economic systems. And number two, that Chinese people have no ability to voice concerns, critique the government, or push for change. Not only will I explain why both of these claims are completely false, but I'll also break down three major benefits of keeping the US-dominated internet infrastructure out of China without restrictions. Let's get into it. Before debunking the myths about China's internet firewall, let's first establish what it actually is and the historical reasoning behind it. According to the Chinese government, the firewall is designed to censor, block, or filter access to certain categories of content that are deemed harmful to national security and societal well-being. They include the following categories: opposing the fundamental principles of the Constitution, jeopardizing national security, leaking state secrets, subverting state power, or threatening national unity, harming the nation's honor or interests, inciting hatred, racism, or disrupting ethnic solidarity, disrupting national religious policies, promoting cults, or reviving feudal superstitions, spreading rumors, disturbing societal order, or undermining social stability, promoting obscenity, pornography, gambling, violence, murder, terrorism, or encouraging criminal activity, insulting or defaming third parties, infringing on legal rights and interests, and any other content prohibited by law or administrative regulations. The core idea behind these restrictions is preserving social cohesion and national stability. The West serves as a real-time case study of what an unfiltered anything-goes digital environment can lead to: mass polarization, disinformation, social fragmentation, and widespread mental health issues. This is the state of the modern Western internet, an unregulated, hyper-commercialized, and divisive digital space that is widely acknowledged to be harmful to mental health and social cohesion. Compare that to China's internet, which, while regulated, is structured around unity and utility. It prioritizes social stability, fosters national cohesion, and prevents the very problems that have turned much of the Western internet into a toxic battleground of ideological warfare and digital addiction. To fully grasp why China is cautious about unregulated foreign influence, we need to look at its historical context. China's modern...
For the record, many other countries don't have the expansive form of free speech absolutism that we have here in America. So I would say that while most Western outlets greatly overemphasize like the mechanisms of control, while most Western outlets greatly overemphasize and exaggerate Chinese mechanisms of control and surveillance and domination amongst our population, I would say that they definitely, this is certainly one of the areas where I disagree with the Chinese methods. I do. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a fucking political content creator and most likely would not be able to do my job if I were to exist in China as a political dissident. But it would be dishonest of me to criticize the British government for doing similar things or the American government for doing similar things while simultaneously saying it's good when China does it. The difference, however, of course, is that I'm not Chinese, and I need to stress this over and over again. So when I criticize the American government, they're like, well, what about China? It's like, well, are you Chinese? No? Okay. Let's handle the problem here then. Anyway, let's continue.
Modern resurgence follows a century of national humiliation that lasted from 1839 to 1949. This period was marked by foreign invasions, land seizures, and economic exploitation at the hands of Western powers in Japan. One of the most devastating periods was the Opium Wars, where British waged war against China to force the population into drug addiction. When China resisted, it was brutally defeated and forced into a series of unequal treaties, ceding control over key territories like Hong Kong and granting Western powers near total economic dominance over the Chinese ports. European powers, along with the US and Japan, carved out spheres of influence within China, controlling trade and resources while the Chinese people suffered. This pattern of foreign exploitation continued well into the 20th century. China was brutally invaded by the Japanese in the 1930s, suffering atrocities like the Nanjing Massacre, where hundreds of thousands were killed. It wasn't until 1949 that China regained sovereignty under its own terms. When viewed through this historical lens, it becomes clear why China is deeply protective of its political and economic independence. Unlike Western nations that have long enjoyed global dominance, China's recent history is one of fighting to reclaim its sovereignty from foreign control. So when Western governments and corporations push for unrestricted influence within China, it is not surprising that the Chinese government and people alike view such efforts with deep skepticism. They've seen firsthand of how unchecked foreign influence can destabilize a nation, and they have no intention of letting history repeat itself. Also, you might be surprised to know that it wasn't China who kicked out American big tech corporations like Meta and Google. American companies voluntarily left the market when they wouldn't follow Chinese terms of service. Meanwhile, other major Western companies like Apple, Microsoft, and Tesla have continued to operate in China by adapting to local regulations. This highlights a key difference in how tech restrictions are often portrayed. While the US has actively banned or restricted Chinese firms like Huawei or TikTok on national security grounds, China's approach has largely been regulatory, leaving companies with a choice to comply or exit. It is entirely understandable why the Chinese government imposes strict regulations on foreign tech companies operating within.
Okay, we've done it. A Hasanabi head has actively outflanked me on pro-China sentiment to such a degree that I am now, for the first time ever, this is a historic moment, going to correct someone on YouTube doing a pro-China video because they're glazing China too much. I can't believe it was going to happen. I never thought it would happen. Chat, you're about to watch history. To say that Facebook, Google, I hate those companies, but to say that the Facebook, Google, and all those other companies actually exited the Chinese market due to regulatory concerns is not the entire story. It's true on its face, but what are the regulatory concerns, you might add? Okay. They did leave voluntarily. This is true. That is an objectively correct statement. They did, you are dumb. But the regulatory needs of the Chinese government were perhaps to use Facebook and Google as a part of the state's surveillance apparatus. Now, the counter to that, of course, is to say, well, these companies have backdoors for the NSA, and for that you would be correct. It's just that they did not want to offer backdoors into Facebook, Google, so that the government could surveil everything that was going on with the same level of ease that they do with all of the Chinese versions of these social media applications. That's it. So technically, yes, these companies left the Chinese market voluntarily, but it was due to the demands that the Chinese government was making. And the demands that the Chinese government was making was, of course, to allow these companies to volunteer. What is your accusation? It's not an accusation. It's just what the Chinese government's demands were. Whether you consider it to be appropriate or not is up to you.
And its borders. Western governments and intelligence agencies have repeatedly used these platforms to influence political movements, destabilize governments, and push for regime change in countries that refuse to align with their interests. This isn't speculation. It's a well-documented strategy that has been carried out numerous times, from Ukraine and Georgia to Romania, many Latin American nations, and beyond.
One doesn't have to be brilliant to attempt a coup.
I disagree with that as somebody who has helped plan coup d'etat.
In fact, Western officials and organizations openly discuss and allocate substantial funding towards these goals, framing them as democracy promotion or support for civil society.
First, we thought that getting Guaido to declare himself president would be enough to topple the regime. Then we thought putting aid on the border would be enough. Then we tried to sort of construct a kind of coup in April of last year, and it blew up in our face when all the generals that were supposed to break with Maduro decided to stick with him in the end. We undermined Norway's talks last summer, and then this March we released a transition framework that frankly is almost a carbon copy of the very one that was in front of the parties last year.
When it comes to China, they're not even subtle about their intentions. Think tanks, government agencies, and media outlets frequently call for strategies to weaken or alter the Chinese political system.
This is true.
Given this context, it's hardly surprising that China enforces strict digital sovereignty policies, ensuring that foreign tech companies operating within its borders cannot be used as tools for external political interference. Just last year, the House passed $1.6 billion to deliver anti-China propaganda overseas. Knowing all this, how can you look at that and be like, yep, better let all that shit in without any restrictions? You really can't blame the government for looking out for its own national interest. If there was a similar authenticated legitimate threat to the US government, you can damn well expect they would crack down on it too. Now that we've established the firewall, what it does, and its context, let's debunk the common misconceptions around it. Starting with the first one, that the firewall limits Chinese citizens' access to the outside world, keeps them heavily propagandized, and prevents them from understanding other political and economic systems. Western critics love to claim that the people of China don't have access to the internet, that they're completely cut off from platforms like TikTok and YouTube. The way they describe it, you'd think that the Chinese are living in the Stone Age. This is complete nonsense. China has built their own internet ecosystem that mirrors every function of the Western internet. They have their own versions of Google, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and every other major platform you can think of. These apps offer nearly identical experiences. On China's version of TikTok, you'll find the same mix of trends, gaming content, food vlogs, and cringe dance videos. Their version of YouTube, Bilibili, hosts everything from nature documentaries, in-depth political analysis, food bloggers, and travel vlogs. What's especially interesting is the political content. A lot of Westerners might assume that Chinese platforms are filled with anti-American rhetoric, but that's not the case. In fact, political content is relatively balanced, and if anything, there's even a slightly positive view of America. The harshest takes you'll find tend to be lighthearted or comedic, poking fun at the absurdity of certain American politicians. Surprisingly, Trump is actually quite popular, with Chinese users often finding him funny or entertaining. You'll see edits of him at speeches and clips where he's treated more like a meme than a villain.
Okay, absolutely. Melania said this was okay.
I'm gonna keep it $1.50. If I was fucking Chinese, I would also love Donald Trump, the great nation builder for China. Donald Trump, the man who is bringing about the century of humiliation to America almost single-handedly. If you are a netizen of a foreign adversary state, why wouldn't you enjoy that? Not only do you not experience the repercussions, but you also are simultaneously watching America fucking cook itself. Well, because of your humanity. Do you think that, I mean, first of all, because of your humanity, talk to the average person about what they think about China, Xi Jinping. Why would it be any different on the other side?
China, 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 China. Let's say China, 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 China. Now, you know,
while Donald Trump was building a reality TV show, my brother was building a security apparatus to keep us safe, and I'm proud of what he did.
the World Trade Center came down.
He had the gall to go after
Joe Biden became mentally impaired. Kamala was born that way. You know what I do with it?
Bro, what the fuck? The meme culture, the meme culture in China is so crazy. It's so strange to me. Like, yeah, we got brain rot, but their brain rot is also weird.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you very much. You will never make it. Go ahead.
Meanwhile, on Western platforms, it's become a whole genre to predict China's imminent collapse, with video after video pushing the same doomsday narratives. You won't find hundreds of why America will collapse videos on Chinese social media, even though there are plenty of valid criticisms that could be made. Political discussions are less aggressive, and when they do happen, they tend to be more good faith discussions rather than fear-mongering or propaganda. This just goes to show how much Western media relies on people's lack of knowledge about the country to paint China as the enemy.
Well, they don't have to
sincerity with which
fear-monger.
Chinese people engage in diplomacy and discuss global affairs on their platforms feels like
To be fair, we have to fearmonger. They don't have to fearmonger. They can just literally point to what America is doing, both against China and everywhere else. Like, that's just the reality. That's what happens when you are the dominant world power. The dominant world power has no real enemies, only perceived ones, so that it can continue its dominance. Other global powers that are rising up already are rising up within that framework, and therefore don't need to make up shit about America to get mad about America. They can just like point to things America's doing to them.
someone extending a handshake only to get a punch in the face in return. The whole idea that Chinese people are cut off from the modern world is laughable, and if anything, it's Westerners who are in the dark about what life in China is really like. The brief TikTok ban showed this perfectly, as some Americans who migrated to Chinese platforms discovered that life in China is modern, affordable, and that locals are generally warm and welcoming to foreigners. If you don't believe me, go check out Xiaohongshu, or Red Note as it's called in English, or Bilibili to see for yourself what Chinese social media is actually like. You might be surprised at what you might find.
I really think America has made a huge mistake when banning this app, because now that we're all on Red Note, we're actually learning that a lot of the crap that they've been talking about China is absolutely not true. We're like, wait a second, you guys have universal healthcare? You don't have to pay for an ambulance when you get picked up to the hospital. You have amazing cars for very low prices. Huawei, the amazing phones they have, are also so much better than iPhones. And all of that is forbidden here. We cannot have any of that. Wait a second, you can walk at night outside and not be afraid? There's no mass unalivings in schools? What? What's that like? And I had someone comment on my Red Note being like, now that you're here, I hope you can see that we're not the beasts that, you know, your news made us seem to be. And I was like,
Americans find out government follows basic functions of good governance, loses their minds. It's so funny because, like, this is not just China. I mean, it's extra funny to do this about China because America's like consistently lied about China, whatever. But Americans genuinely forget that like other countries exist, because half the shit she's talking about here is like European capitals as well. You can point to not even Europe, like developing nations have implemented some of these protections that she's talking about with far less money and resources. It's not a matter it's not a matter of money. It's not a problem with money. Problem with capitalism. That's it.
Like, we never thought you guys were. I feel like we always knew it was bullshit. And yeah, no country's perfect. There's a lot of issues everywhere in this world. But it's very interesting. We're learning much more, I think, than they wanted us to know.
And yeah, here we are learning about how affordable their cost of living is. How 90% of people in China own the place that they live in. How they don't really have homeless people. They don't have a drug problem. Like, their groceries are affordable. They only have to work one job in order to pay their bills. They were confused about having to pay for an ambulance ride. They literally have universal health care. Our government decided that in order to get us to not want communism, they had to make it seem like it was this big, scary, crazy thing, and to basically shield us from it. And look, we're literally talking to people that live under that type of government, and they're happy. They're happy, and they cannot believe how Americans are letting America run. And they feel sorry for us. That's sad.
Chinese people are also some of the most well-traveled in the world. In 2023 alone, mainland Chinese citizens made 206 million international trips. To put that into perspective, the entire population of the United States is about 345 million. And yet, despite experiencing the world firsthand, all 206 million of those Chinese travelers chose to come home. Not because they were forced to, but because the quality of life in China is high. Beyond tourism, China has one of the largest groups of international students in the world. Every year, hundreds of thousands of Chinese students enroll in Western universities, gaining access to a vast range of academic perspectives, many of which are openly critical of China. Yet after spending years immersed in these environments, 90% of them return home. Tens of millions of Chinese citizens have studied abroad or are currently pursuing degrees in the West.
I do find it really funny because, like, for the longest time, people basically, I guess without the internet being so popular, people were just like able to just lie. I don't know what changed in the last like decade. I think like people recognized America's imminent demise. So they started paying attention to like, as the less you trust your own government, the more you listen to what it's saying and you go, wait a minute, is that wrong? And I think a part of that is social media, and a part of that is like that broader feeling of instability and, dare I say, resentment towards the institutions that cause people to look at China and go, what the fuck? You guys were just lying about everything. Because it's not like Chinese people are inaccessible. It's a massive country. They're fucking everywhere. And yet, for some reason, Americans just never chose to ask, like, what do you think about your country? Now, of course, I don't know how honest a Chinese person would be about their own government in America, I mean, because, you know, there's a lot of racism. I know this from my own personal experience talking to Water, Jake's girlfriend, who is Chinese. When I was like literally glazing China and asking her about China, she thought I was fucking with her. She literally was like, she thought I was messing with her because she had never heard like a American white guy actively, I guess with the exception of Jake, like actively be like, no, I think these are the good things about China. Anyway, it's just funny to me that like we act as though it's impossible to figure out what things are like over there. And it's much better to just consistently fantasize about the imminent demise of China instead and watch a million different YouTube videos about like the collapse of China.
The idea that they're simply brainwashed or lack knowledge to the outside world, especially when compared to Americans, is completely unfounded. In fact, I would confidently argue that the average Chinese citizen, particularly young people, have a far more accurate understanding of global affairs than an average American. China's education system, despite its intensity, is one of the best in the world. In my personal conversations with Chinese people, I found that they often have a stronger grasp of current geopolitics, world history, and even American history than many Americans themselves. Check out interviews on the channel Asian Boss and see how informed they are. Chinese students are taught about key moments in US history from the Revolutionary War to the Civil Rights Movement and generally have a nuanced understanding of how different political systems function. Ironically, while Americans tend to see communism through the lens of decades of Cold War era propaganda, Chinese people actually approach the topic with a more balanced, pragmatic perspective. They don't just
I'm gonna go back again and say this. You don't need to do propaganda about America and its ways. You can just do an accurate reflection of events, and that will be enough for people to go, oh, I don't like that. The propaganda in China, in the education system, revolves around, and this is not dissimilar to any other country. I'm not singling out China for this, so don't yell at me. The propaganda is about Chinese history, just like we do the same thing here in the United States of America, an inaccurate reflection of events, or at least some omissions that I would say are ridiculous. Like, I genuinely feel like most American, example, Washington, George Washington. He was a fucking slave owner, and not a nice one either. This doesn't mean everything he did was bad. You know, I'm in favor of the Revolutionary War. Fuck the English. But also, he was a slave owner. He enslaved people, and then he moved them around. There are also so many. Not a nice one either is crazy work. No, the reason why I'm saying that is because that is the way that they describe it. I'm directly countering. I am directly countering the narrative in the books. There is no way to be a nice slave owner, but the way that they describe it in the history books is to make it seem as though this was like, there was reasonable debate. There was spirited debate, you know, like this is, he wasn't the worst guy. Like they portray him positively. That's what I mean. I'm directly countering the fucking insane narrative, not making a value judgment about like nice slave owners. That's not a thing. Of course.
blindly claim that communism is superior, nor do they try to impose their ideology on others. Instead, it's often Westerners who feel the need to aggressively defend capitalism and impose their worldview on Chinese people. The reality is that Chinese people simply believe that their system works for their country, while Americans, despite being typically less informed, tend to be far more defensive about their own system. That being said, Chinese people are generally far less political than Americans. This isn't just unique to China, it's a broader trend across East Asia, in Japan, and Korea as well, compared to the US, where people across the political spectrum, young and old, are deeply ingrained in political debates. The average Chinese citizen simply doesn't think about politics on a daily basis. Instead, their focus is on education, work, family, and enjoying life. And in many ways, this is one of the strongest endorsements of China's political system, the fact that it doesn't need to dominate people's lives. Government only becomes a major concern when it is actively failing, when policies are harming people's livelihoods, when institutions are ineffective.
That's not true, man. Because they can't participate in politics is just not true. I mean, he's glazing too. Yeah, no. It's just a government assignment that they came up with on their own. Xi Jinping personally handpicks every single person in the country that is going to be a part of the CCP's power structure.
Or when systematic issues create widespread frustration. In China, the fact that most people don't feel the need to engage in constant political discourse is in itself evidence of a functional and effective system. They don't have to fight for basic necessities or worry about whether their government will provide stability, it simply does. As a result, there's a baseline level of trust that allows people to focus on their personal ambitions rather than constantly questioning whether their government is working for them. Contrast that with the United States, where politics is inescapable because so many people feel personally impacted, whether through stagnant wages.
Okay, this is so much China glaze. Okay, wow. Whoa, that's not true. That's objectively not true. Chinese people are very much aware that they're under an umbrella of broad surveillance down to the fucking random civilian aunties and uncles. But you know what else Chinese people are very much aware of? Imaginable prosperity and development that has taken root in China over the course of the past couple of decades. This is the real reason why they don't give a fuck, in spite of the political repression, or not even political suppression, but like mass surveillance, for example. That's it. The idea that they don't care about politics is also wrong. They quite literally have rebellions every now and then, mini ones, mini versions of it, but it's just untrue to say that people are not upset with their government and also decide to take action. They do protests. The protests get aggro. Never to the same degree as like American protests. But the reason why I said rebellion, I should have clarified what I mean. The reason why I said rebellion is because a government that functions with a level of authority, Hassan just lying now, rebellions. I meant protests, and I'm wrong to say rebellion. I'm going to explain to you why I chose the word rebellion, because it's something that I describe all the time. Okay, there's normal dissent, there's active protests and things of that nature. But the reason why I was going to talk about fucking quote unquote rebellion is because a government that is more hands-on and is always an ever-present point of authority, like the Chinese government, as opposed to like neoliberal mechanisms of control, for example, because they're both authoritarian in different ways. But a government that is like always there and that the citizens are aware of, and even like actively self-censor, for example, and doesn't say certain things, knowing full well that, you know, they might like get banned off of a platform that they can't use any longer. And then like that cooks a lot of their regular experiences throughout the day. That is way more ripe for rebellion, which is precisely the reason why the government has a government that wants to maintain its control over the population has to always be receptive to the desires of its population in order to avoid a rebellion. Does that make sense? If China was this like authoritarian nightmare that is completely fucking destroying its citizens and like killing people, blah, 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 all this stuff, if that was true, then these guys they're not stupid. They know that they're being surveilled, for example. They would fucking revolt. They would have a rebellion. That's why I use the word rebellion. They don't.
affordable healthcare, rising cost of living, or a political system that often seems more focused on culture wars than solving real problems. Do you really think Americans would be this obsessed with elections or hyperfixated on every new political controversy if they actually trusted their government to function properly? Of course not. The intensity of political engagement in the US isn't a sign of a healthy democracy. It's a symptom of a system that repeatedly fails its people. Meanwhile, in China, the vast majority of people, politics is simply not a priority because it doesn't have to be. Okay, so Chinese people have their own internet ecosystem, they're highly educated, and they travel the world. But what about censorship? When it comes to censorship, Chinese people are very aware of what they can and can't post online. The government is very clear about what's off limits: sedition against the government, racism, pornography, and all the other things mentioned in the beginning. It's straightforward, and the rules are well known. The difference is that in China, censorship is explicit and people understand it as part of the broader structure. In the West, however, censorship is often arbitrary and used to reinforce the dominant narratives pushed by powerful elites. Over the past few years, we've witnessed the unraveling of Western ideals of free speech and a free internet. The most recent example of this have been the systematic suppression of pro-Palestinian content, as well as cover-ups of war crimes in Gaza. For years, Western media outlets like the New York Times and platforms like Meta have controlled the narrative by limiting access to certain information and shaping public perception. But one platform that couldn't be fully controlled was TikTok, which...
Why does your argument not reply to Russia? Honestly curious. Because the average improvement on the material realities of like a regular working class person in China over the course of the past 30 years has been incredible, as opposed to Russia. And also Russia is, I would say, more authoritarian and less democratic than even China is. Because at least in China, there's like local governance that is incredibly fucking hands-on. I would say even more hands-on than like American local governance. And that ultimately they bring all of the concerns that the citizens have to the local government all the way up to the fucking party infrastructure, even though there's like technically, oh, it's just the CCP. There's like dissidents as well, but it doesn't really matter. It's marginal. It's irrelevant. But the real politics, the real domestic politics is happening at the point of local policymakers, local legislators, local regulators. Russia does not have a version of that. It's just fake. Like Russia is an open oligarchy. Unless you personally believe that like what 90%, 98% of Russians voted for Vladimir Putin or something. What is this? This could have applied to the USSR in the 50s, not anymore. Yeah.
Allowed an entirely new generation to get access to information about the genocide in Gaza. This became a massive ongoing battle to ban or censor the content that was circulating on the app. In the US, the media landscape is becoming more and more consolidated, with powerful players like Jeff Bezos using outlets like the Washington Post to promote narratives that serve their own interests. Recently, Bezos issued a directive to the Post requiring coverage that promotes personal liberties and free markets, essentially signaling that the narrative is being carefully curated to maintain the status quo of the American oligarchy. Then there's Twitter, which brands itself as the #1 free speech site, yet is anything but free speech. Like all American social media platforms, Twitter is entirely at the mercy of its billionaire owners. Elon Musk, for instance, has been known to boost far-right accounts, support political parties like the AfD in Germany, and ban or unverify users who disagree with him. Rather than a platform that fosters open dialogue, Twitter has become a toxic cesspool where far-right extremists thrive, promoting everything from race science to conspiracy theories, as long as it serves Musk's personal agenda. Although Chinese censorship is real and targeted, if anything, Western censorship is more insidious, operating under the guise of free speech while serving corporate interests. China's censorship is public and predictable, and for the vast majority of Chinese internet users and instances, censorship is irrelevant to their online experience. Now let's get to the major key that underlines this entire conversation. You can always get a VPN. A VPN allows you to access the internet in China just as you would anywhere in the world. Which brings us to today's sponsor. No, I'm fucking with you, there's no sponsor. But there is a Patreon as per request, so if you want to check that out, go ahead, thank you. But in all seriousness, if you're in China and you want to look at the Western internet, the barriers to do so are not large at all. I like this system a lot because many people won't learn about.
Are you fucking serious, Amon? China censors LGBT content, the whole fanfiction site AO3 is banned, and that user keeps defending it? That's what's going on? Wait, what? Out of all... hold on. Out of all of the things that you could fucking criticize the Chinese government's censorship over, specifically as it pertains to LGBT, depictions of like LGBT people or whatever, which would be a lie. You can be openly fucking gay on Chinese applications and whatnot. You chose China banning AO3. China would not let me go on Wattpad and write about Yowie, Donald Trump Yowie. This is unacceptable. You're being girly pop phobic. Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, that's funny. What about my Mao X dang toxic Yowie? Oh man. All right. Haas, you don't understand. I need my cyber mommy.
And then install a VPN until college when they are much more mature and able to approach the Western internet in a much better way. The default internet is so much better as a general internet for society. Even if you have no problem with pornography or violence being so accessible, I think we can all agree that it's not good for people at such young ages to be.
I will say this. I think American internet has gotten to such a fucking degree of instability and like unrestricted, unlimited Nazi shit that like low key, the fucking firewall might be a preferable alternative for children, especially as they're developing. Okay. That's all I'm saying. I'm just, dude, it's fucked up. I know the whole argument that Taylor was presenting is like, the government should not get to dictate what children are looking at. The problem is, I trust the Chinese government to make that decision more than I trust the American government. And this is not me China glazing. This is me just feeling so sad about the state of affairs in this fucking country. It is actually wild. It's actually wild how bad the situation is online for American children in general. Yeah, Grok and Meta will protect our kids. Yeah, Meta. Here, I'll give you an example. Recently, it came out that Meta was implementing chatbots with no restrictions as it pertains to flirting with children. Okay? Flirting with children. Now, Grok, obviously, you know, is Mecha Hitler. So there's that. But like, think about that. That's who we have that's unlimited, unrestricted access to that. I mean, that's crazy. Every time I get mad, I get fucking mad at like Google for doing some fuck shit or Twitter for doing some fuck shit. Facebook comes out of nowhere, Meta comes out of nowhere and is like, nah, we are the real evil here. Trust. It's like they're on an active, they're in an active competition with one another on who gets to be the bigger Nazi pedophile platform. It doesn't make any sense. I asked Grok about Meta and he told me that the genocide in South Africa is not approving of Meta flirting with children. Their ethics officers signed off on their rules. Their whole job is ethics. We're cooked. Meta's AI rules have let bots hold sensual chats with kids, offer false medical info. I mean, seriously, like, I don't think the Chinese methods are the best. Okay, I don't. This is an active disagreement that I have. This is something that I actually criticize the Chinese government on all the time, which is like, you know, there are certain forms of repression that the Chinese government engages in, especially censorship, especially mass surveillance, that I don't think is good. But like, is it better than this? I don't know. It might be better than this. Like, can we not have this? I don't want the other thing either, but this I definitely don't want. You know? I don't want this. I don't want this at all. So please, let's stop this. It's doubly fucked because we don't even do anything that the Chinese government does that's good. And we basically do things that we either ascribe to the Chinese government or the things that the Chinese government are doing that are bad. We literally look at a million different policies implemented by the Chinese government that are objectively good and we should do it here, okay? And we say, nah, that is woke and gay. Defending one of the worst parts of the Chinese government is crazy. Yeah, this shit is insane. It's like the Chinese guy making a video titled Why the American Patriot Act is a Good Thing. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot. I don't even necessarily... I'm not necessarily saying that this person is, I'm not fully in agreement with what this guy is saying, but I think as far as like actively going against the narratives that you hear in the Western world about like how, what kind of forms of censorship exist and stuff like that, I think it's fine. It's valid. He does get absolutely heavy handed. And I don't know if I agree with his ultimate conclusion anyway, but I wouldn't say this is like evil. Like what, if you just look at the, if you just look at the title of it, you get duped by it, then yeah, sure, I understand why you would feel that way. But he's definitely going through and detailing like what people get wrong.
accessing that type of content. I know that I certainly would have benefited from not seeing pornography and executions from literally the age of 7 years old. The VPN is always accessible for those who want to use the Western internet, but I think it's great that the default internet is the way that it is. Now for the question I know you've all been thinking.
Like some kind of restriction for minors online, I think is good. I don't even think it's like fucked up or evil. I think it's good. Okay? I don't even think it's like gray area shit. It's just that I don't think that the appropriate mechanisms is to literally make sure that everyone has an ID on them at all times. And then the ID is like stored somewhere. You know what I mean? That is crazy.
What about Tiananmen Square? The event itself is a topic that deserves its own video, which will come, but let's address it briefly since I know it's likely on your mind. Despite this event being censored on the Chinese internet, many Chinese people, especially older generations, are still aware of what happened. But let's take a step back and look at how Tiananmen Square is used in the narrative against China today. If you look at the comment section of any video that talks positively about China, chances are one of the top comments will be, "What about Tiananmen Square?" As if they've just delivered the ultimate big brain original.
I think it is kind of funny that the American government, like Americans living in the United States of America constantly put this diss out there where they're like, what about Tiananmen Square? Fucking got him. And it's like, dude, our cops kill 1,000 Americans every year, dude. Every fucking year. Like, this isn't a glazed China when they fuck up, okay? Make no mistake. But we kill 1,000 Americans a year. Our police force kills 1,000 Americans every fucking year. I think our cops kill what, like 10 dogs a day? American police departments kill 10 dogs a day, 10 pets a day, not just dogs. Anyway, so the idea like where they're like, hey, remember that historic event of government suppression is just funny to fucking point to when we live in America, man. We live in America. What do you mean? I went to the fucking protest. I went to the goddamn protest this fucking a couple months ago. They were deploying chemical weapons that are deemed illegal in war on the captive civilian population. That's what they were doing. They were using techniques that they learned from the IDF, kettling and corralling against civilians who were like, don't fucking kidnap my neighbor, bro. Do I have to say it's Chinese for you to understand how fucked that is? Oh, dude, it's fine when we do it here. It's crazy when it's Chinese, though. Like, it's cool when we do it here. I just don't want it to be like Chinese style. That was my fault. I'm just racist. Yeah, we got the literal fucking military. We have the literal military in DC also. This is my favorite quote. People just being like, oh, it's just LED lights, you fucking idiot. Oh, you're so stupid. You only care about LED lights.
Although it was a tragedy, let's be real. This single event, which took place nearly 40 years ago, is used to discredit every Chinese achievement, bolster the narrative of Western superiority.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, we did the move bombing, bro. Look at us. This week marked the 40th anniversary of one of the worst tragedies in Philadelphia's history. In May 1985, the city's police department dropped an improvised bomb, which was a bag filled to the brim with C4 on a residential home that housed the Black Revolutionary Organization MOVE. The bomb and ensuing fire killed 11 people, including 5 children, and destroyed more than 60 nearby homes. But if you think that was the most insane shit, hold on, it gets worse. I think it was Princeton. I don't want to get the Institute of Higher Learning, the name incorrectly. They took the remains and kept it. There was an American college that kept the remains of the Africa family after the fucking government shredded the family. They stole the bones, brother. It was Penn. Okay, it wasn't Princeton. Sorry. Yes. It's not from like slave times, dude. That's like 1985. That's 6 years before I was born. Only recently did they actually release the bones. I'll tell you one step. I'll take it one step further. Police chief at the time goes, was it police chief or the fire chief at the time when the bombing happened and the fires were fucking raging? Okay. And they were like, yo, we got to go in. We got to go in. This is like, the fires are getting out of control. He said, let it burn. Oh, it was the Penn Museum and Princeton University, just to be clear. Hey, there we go. I wasn't wrong. Okay. So like, just because you didn't learn about this or all of the existing current forms of police brutality and the defense of that doesn't change the reality. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just cope. Like, it's cope. It's cope. It's cope. It's pure cope. We're like, oh, dude, remember Tiananmen Square? It's like, I do. I know. Do you know anything that happens in America with regular frequency? I'm not fucking Chinese, dog. I'm not in the business of defending Tiananmen Square or Xinjiang. I don't give a fuck, okay? As an American citizen, I'm telling you about America, like homegrown, whole-ass American versions of what you are ascribing to China, okay? What you're saying China is doing, we're fucking doing here. And you're in the process of telling me it's okay because China's doing the same shit, apparently.
And dismiss the entirety of China as a whole. The West has expertly leveraged this single tragedy by China to deflect from their own historical and ongoing atrocities. Now, what's fascinating to me is that applying the same standards of violence to discredit a government, the West's record is unimaginably worse. Since its establishment in 1949, China, with the exception of Tiananmen Square and one border skirmish with Vietnam, has risen overwhelmingly peacefully. Even if we take the largest Western estimates of Tiananmen Square and say that thousands upon thousands.
Can you describe how the leaders of Tiananmen Square protests ended up in the United States? You'd assume they were disappeared or killed, right? I can. It's called, well, I was just about to say Ashley Babbitt, but then I remembered Donald Trump released everyone that went to prison for January 6th. For a second, I was going to say, yeah, I mean, a similar thing happened in America. Like, you could point to like January 6th. And then I realized, oh shit, those guys actually literally were released from prison. I don't mean this as a positive, okay? I'm not saying that this is a positive thing. I just mean that like, similar incidents have taken place in the United States of America. And the one time when violence was totally permissible, they didn't do it. And not only did they not do it, but they became fucking prison abolitionists out of nowhere. Top G's a cool name. I agree. Got fucking Chinese firewalled, baby. Get fucked. What is this? China in 2 minutes? Ain't no fucking way. Ain't no fucking way you just sent me an unlisted link from your YouTube page that you made me an edit for. Ain't no fucking way I'm watching that. It's age restricted. It's literally age restricted. Are you trying to get me fucking banned, dude? Are you insane? I love Top G, but I do not trust that video. One of the mods needs to check that first.
Died. This is still a drop of water compared to the ocean of death caused by Western intervention around the world. Not even considering the horrors of colonization and slavery, millions of people have died in Western-led wars in the modern era. The Iraq War, the Afghanistan conflict, the Vietnam War alone accounted for millions of deaths. The total death toll of these conflicts is staggering, with estimates around 1 million people dying in Iraq alone, over 170,000 in Afghanistan, and 2 to 3 million in Vietnam. And those are just the wars Americans generally know about. How many know that during the Korean
I think the bigger L with China's border skirmish with Vietnam was what it was over, what it was slated to protect, okay? We don't talk about that. That's all I'm going to say. I think I might prefer China's non-interventionist policy currently as opposed to its interventionist policy that was very good and totally justifiable in Korea and maybe not so good and not so justifiable in, I don't know, Pol Pot. Not great, you know? You got to take the good and you got to take the bad, okay? Let's be real. They don't have exactly the best track record, all right? The one time they were like, yeah, we're were actively getting involved in this. It was literally for the worst possible thing that you could do. Chatter's vid is a timeline of China. 3D design is my passion in it, but nice. Wait, really? Is this the same Top G that always shits on me? Did he actually low-key made like a passion passion project? And he's being nice? It has gore in it? Oh, you son of a bitch. Don't watch there's dead people in the video? God damn it. God damn it, Top G. Of course. Why can't your haters be more like Top G? There are historical images that are published in museums. Yeah, but I can't show it. Or some of it, I don't think. Anyway, I'll look at it. I'll check it. I'll watch it afterwards.
War, the US dropped more bombs and napalm on Korea than were used in the entire Pacific theater of World War II. In fact, 75% of North Korean towns...
What about Winnie the Pooh stuff? Genuine question. I mean, you can say Winnie the Pooh in China if that's what you're asking. I'm pretty sure. There was definitely... they were just using that as a way to shit on Big G for a little bit. But yeah, if you go to Shanghai Disney, they like literally sell Winnie the Pooh stuff. No, I think that person is not being mean. I think that person is like actually asking.
And cities were destroyed by US bombings, killing 2 to 3 million, with 70% of the deaths being civilians. How many young Americans are aware of the My Lai massacre, where 504 civilians, mostly women and children, were sexually assaulted and murdered by US Army soldiers? I just recently traveled to Laos. How many people know that American bombers dropped bombs on Laos for nearly a decade from 1964 to 1973, all the while keeping it completely secret from its own people?
Big L for China was honestly collaborating at any capacity with the American government past the point of World War II. That was the biggest L, I think. They should have just kept out of all of that. Non-interventionists, if you want to be. I just popped in with this video. Feels like silly whataboutism. Of course, the U.S. government has no ground to stand on talking about Chinese abuses, but random people like you and me aren't. The U.S. government can be consistent in opposing human rights abuses and crimes against other countries, no matter who was committing it. What matters is being consistent and not singling out China or downplaying U.S. crimes for imperialist purposes. Cloud District Enjoyer is going back to his fucking old ways, okay? He's been so good for so long. He's going back to his old ways. Let me tell you why, okay? So, first of all, ironically enough, the people that say whataboutism are the ones who are usually engaging in whataboutism. And yes, while people can be morally consistent, I think Americans use the shit that the Chinese government has done, like mechanisms of oppression, forms of oppression, or even like outright violence that the Chinese government has engaged in as a way to shelter Americans from the responsibility of bearing witness to our crimes, which are, and this is objectively true, magnitudes worse, right? I don't think anyone in this community, regardless of how much I shit on China or regardless of how much you shit on China, would ever fucking turn around and say America's crimes around the globe are not magnitudes worse than what China has done throughout its history. Like orders of magnitude, I would say. It's not even a question. Like there's no, our violence is patriotic. I mean, there's no country that comes close. Maybe England, actually. England is, I mean, the British Empire was pretty fucking bad. I would even go so far as to say the British Empire is low-key kind of, it brought about America. It's almost like a continuation of the British Empire.
Damn, this guy's good.